Mm-hmm.
So I will try to endeavour to fix that as we move on. But yeah, welcome to Inforunners, guys. Sorry, we've had some teething issues this morning because they've reset a bunch of stuff on us. But
Pursue OBS.
yeah, so starting the bot. Sorry, Algared. Yeah, we're live.
We are live.
So yeah. Yep. As if you can't tell from my voice, I am very under the weather. I apparently caught one of my housemates' sicknesses.
It's not Verona, is it?
No, it's not the Rhino, not at all. So yeah, we'll see.
Although sometimes I think having the Rona is probably better in the sense you've got it, everyone leaves you alone.
Yes.
But yeah, just an ordinary everyday flu. Hey, Cosmic, lovely to see you, and Vital Win, and Ben, awesome to see you with us today on YouTube.
Twitch. So, Algared, do you want to go through those questions for me while I'm trying to get the Twitch working? That would be good.
Yep, so while Execute's working that, and welcome to our show today. It's Execute now, answering your questions and looking at the ISC. And last week we had 5 or so questions we didn't get a chance to reach, and so we thought we'd go through them early on. And the first question was from Fishy2951. He said, "Finally, my chance to get a question. Since we've heard nothing of a Drake heavy fighter, do you think it's going to be an awesome ship?"
That could be pretty. Well, isn't? Oh no. Yeah, I've thought of that actually. Did they need one? What do you think?
That was my question. Do they need one? In a sense, I always thought the way Drake was designed, that the Cutlass was in a sense their heavy fighter.
Yeah.
Certainly my understanding of the way it was built, it was supposed to be a fighter that could carry some cargo and was really awesome and everything else. And then it kind of grew into this merchant ship that was a wallowing whale, and then when it got reworked, it kind of got pulled back from that. So it's not necessarily a fighter, but it's certainly really tough. And I'd say the Freelancer's kind of the fancy dancy upmarketed version of them both, because they've both got similar weapons, they've both got similar hardware, like missile loadout, and they've both got a cargo capacity. So yeah, I'm not sure they need it. Even when you look at the other fighter, I've just gone blank on the name.
You're talking about other heavy fighters.
The Buccaneer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sorry.
The Buccaneer is not exactly a light fighter. It's quite heavy in terms of its armament. But yeah. So what are your thoughts?
You could almost take any manufacturer and say, where's their heavy fighter, couldn't you? So you could go, where the fuck's the Argo heavy fighter? So for me,
where's Kruger's?
Are they the one, are they a manufacturer that deserves a heavy fighter? And I'll chuck this out there. You're the law guy, you tell me, but the military people hate Drake, so do I put that in a likelihood of gonna happen? No.
When you said the military people, are you referring to the military people in law?
Yeah, like they refuse to buy Drake stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to actually have a better look at why, whether it's just because Drake had that nasty pirate look, or whether it was because they were on the outskirts of the verse, on the fringes. And I'd have to delve into it a bit more. It's just that they've always missed out and get shunted to the side on IAE or IAE. But when you said the military guys, I wanted to clarify it because I wasn't sure you were actually saying the in-law military or military guys on our channel. Because you always talk about them as the military guys. So
I get you.
So yeah, my impression is that the military don't look at Drake, probably because they usually don't. They're usually unarmored in comparison to everyone else. They are usually more heavily armed, and that's their kind of playoff. But yeah, but I've taken the Buccaneer into Arena Commander, and for me, it felt like the best fighter of all the fighters I'd tried. The others felt slow or that, and the Buccaneer felt like a fighter when I was flying it. Now it could just be I suck, which is possible.
I'm definitely feeling I suck because I just realized I had everything backwards. That's why it's not working. I had the key where the server was meant to go, and the server where the key was meant to go, and that's why it wasn't working.
That's clearly you're sick.
Yes, maybe.
It's the evidence that you're sick. Sorry to Twitch viewers.
Hey, it's connecting. Hey, we're streaming to Twitch. Sorry about that, Twitch. We got here late. Anyway, we're working again.
And good morning, Fraser McLaren, Captain Carrot.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that this morning from someone messaged me. Did you hear about Queen Elizabeth, Algared?
No, I didn't.
Oh, as a POM, I'll let you read chat.
Okay.
Axis 0096, just let you know. Probably the fastest way to let you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was...
well, that's going to...
So about 2 a.m. our time last night, I heard that the people were rushing to her bedside, is what I heard. I didn't know she had passed, though, so that's news to me as well. So
No, I hadn't heard that. That's
that is the
that's gonna
literally end of an era.
It is the end of an era. It is as big an end of an era as Queen Victoria.
Well, because we're back to kings now. We've never known a king, so in my lifetime. So yeah, that's different.
No,
so,
that's right. It's
But yeah, what I think you probably know more about this than I, but I think it was like 1928 or something like that. She got coronated. I'd have to check it up, but yeah, it's a pretty long run.
It was certainly a long while ago.
Well, Charles isn't going to have as long a run, put it that way. He's already in his 70s already, so he's probably going to be around for 20 years, and then his son will take over, and then there's another queen in line because they changed the way it worked now. So we get 2 kings and then another queen. So yeah, interesting to see how that's going to go.
Yes, well, an evil comment from Meghan Markle a while ago was, "We're only one plane flight away from being. I'm only one plane flight away from being queen." Basically. Wipe out the plane with the royals on it, and hey, I'm suddenly Queen of England. Yes,
that is a little evil.
She's for me, she comes across not as a nice person. Now it could just be my impression based on press, but
I think you're correct. We'll leave it at that. All right, that's enough royals because this is starting to turn into Days of Our Lives, if you know the TV show. Which is a huge drama. It's a drama show, long story short. So I'm kind of implying that that's a bit of drama. But yeah, we'll acknowledge it and we'll move on. So what's the next question?
The next question was from Stop and Sniffer, and I'm actually going to tie in Fishy's question because Fishy had an add-on to that question. So Stop and Sniffer said, "Do you think the Corsair will come out at SitCon or IAE?" And Fishy added to that and said, I see work on the roadmap until November, so probably IAE. So what are your thoughts?
Well, let's look what we've got on there. We've got the Vulture coming with salvage, so I think that's most likely to come with the patch. I get a sneaking suspicion the Corsair's a little bit like what happened to the Redeemer. Do you remember how the patch came out, but they held that off for release at AIE? That's what I get the sense of with the Corsair. What do you think?
Well, I certainly don't need the Corsair for salvage. So there's no need for them to put that in. I think you're right. I think they may hold it off for IAE, and and depending on the gameplay, like if it's an exploration ship, is it there? But it does do cargo. It does do vehicles. It has weapons. It has missiles. It has crew. In some sense, it's got more gameplay than the other Explorer, but certainly than the Carrack, and it's on par with the Aquila and the Connies and those ships. So I could see them putting it in. I think marketing will put it in where it gets the most hype. So
in chat, someone was asking. This is from Twitch chat. It was hoping that we would get a Warbond CCU today, and I'm just asking him. in text, why would we get to see Warbond CCU today? I'm curious. Is there something that I've missed there? I'm really curious as to why today. Is it because the Queen has passed, they're just going to give us a random Warbond CCU? I just find that a bit weird, but yeah.
Because Manchester.
What happened at Manchester?
Well, the Manchester office in England. I'm trying to draw the dots as well, So.
That's like someone wins an election, so we get a Warbond CCU in the States. That's the equivalent of it. Yes, I know it's a rare thing, but it's got nothing to do with our game. It's just a world event. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit I've never been really into the Royals. I know a lot of people are, but yeah, I'm not one of them. So yeah. All right. Next question, because we're almost done.
Okay, the next question. Yep. And the next question was from Bahog. Bahog had a question. He says, "I've got 2 BMMs.
Mm-hmm.
By virtue of the $250 War Bond 2 BMM CCU,
mm-hmm.
what should I do with one? I want to Pioneer an 890 jump."
Can't CCU to a Pioneer, so that goes out the window.
And you can't CCU to an 890 jump, so that goes out the window.
Yeah, so you can't do anything with either of those, buddy. I do have a... Hang on, real quick. I do have a speculation, though. I've kind of worked out what I think they're going to do with that ship. They're going to increase it to $750. In increasing it to $750, that means you can't CCU it to anything. Right? So when it finally releases, it's currently $600 right now. And I think it'll jump again at the AIE, but when it releases early next year, I fully expect that to hit $750. And in doing that, you can't CCU it to anything. And so basically, if you think about it, it takes everything out of the game. As in, all those people that were hoping to upgrade it to the biggest ship possible get stuck with a bad merchantman that they've either got to melt and turn back into just $250 credit. It's a win-win for them. You do the math. You either lose the ship entirely, or basically you're stuck with a bad merchantman. And so if I was looking to get out, I'd be getting out ASAP. And for me, like at $600, I think you're at a better place to jump off kind of now. Maybe at the AIE, say it goes up to $700, that limits the choices you have. My mic just fell upside down. But yeah, for me, it's going to do this thing where it keeps getting loose now. For me, I think you've got to basically go, look, do you see what I mean? It's like risk versus reward. You're essentially gambling. And if you actually think about it, that is the smartest move they could make in making that. But do you agree with that? That making the ship 750 is a very smart move for them? I think it is. But... It
certainly, in effect, makes it the same as doing the 890 jump.
Yeah.
In terms of price, because you can't do anything with it. And since you can't CCU to an 890 jump, doesn't matter. So by keeping it lower price, you actually entice people to get it. But if you don't want an 890, if you don't want a BMM, and you're hoping to CCU to stuff,
even at 600 where it is now, though, there's not that many ships, is there? There's like, you can't go to the Carrack because that's $600. So it's basically like the Odyssey, and then the Nautilus, the Hammerhead, the Perseus, and the Polaris. That's it. So basically, by waiting, say it jumps by $100 and goes to 700, that means you lose the Perseus and the Odyssey. So if you want to go, the person that asked the question, I forgot the gentleman's name, but if
that was Bahog.
Bahog, if you want to go to the Perseus or the Odyssey, jump one of them off now. And if you want to risk it and try and go for the Hammerhead, Nautilus, or Polaris, that's your only options. You've only got 5 options, right? Oh, and the A2. Sorry, I forgot that. You've got 6, right? So the other way to look at it is if you can get an A2, that's a pretty cheap A2. I don't know if you want an A2. I've always found that thing really overpriced, as have you, I know. I don't know. What would you recommend, Algared, then? Let's wrap this up. What would be the 2 ships you would get?
I'd probably look at Polaris. Not Polaris. Yeah, I'd probably look at a Polaris if I didn't want the BMM. Because I can't CCU to the 2 ships you'd like.
It's hard to recommend blind, isn't it? Yeah.
Why would I get rid of the second one? Because he only wants to get rid of one because he wants a BMM.
Yeah.
And as someone said in Stack, laugh out loud, being stuck with a BMM. Oh no, tragedy.
Well, multiples
that was Chick 17 or Chick
multiples would be a problem, or could potentially be a problem. Yeah, so you could either, as you said, you could just have the multiple banners. If you want individual ships, I'd kind of go with Algared's first recommendation of Polaris, and then I'd probably Nautilus, then Odyssey. But that all comes down to what you want to do in game. So put that to what you want to do, and then decide. And
if you want to do exploration and you don't have a carrack, then going the Odyssey would be a valid option. As well. So while we can make our suggestions, ultimately those ships, because Polaris is a combat ship, Perseus is a combat ship, Nautilus is combat but defense, and Odyssey is exploration. So depending on where you want to go is going to impact your gameplay. And even Polaris versus Perseus. Perseus is smaller crew versus larger crew. So it depends on the game who you're playing with. So it's you've got to. We can say what we think, but then you've got to adjust that based on your play style and your desires, and we can't do that just on a single question.
Yeah.
Now, I will say
that's why I left
questions, guys.
That's kind of why I left it open. So
So I will say with the questions, guys, don't forget to put question in the question so it get pulled up by the bot. If you have a question that you actually want us to answer urgently, rather than having left over until the following week, we go really slow. If you do the super chat buttons, that will guarantee that we answer it straight away. But you don't have to do that. But it's one way to guarantee your question gets answered almost immediately. So.
All right, so that's the end of the questions from last week. We're up to ISC Algared. So we've got Derelicts of Daymar. Now you're a lore guy again. Javelin, yeah? That's what I'm thinking of when I think of this.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking awesome. They're going to update the Javelin. I kind of hope that they don't make the Javelin another settlement where it's a PvP, PvE combat. I think you've got to have some places that are just wrecks that can go and hang out and look at. You've got to have some that are PvE. You've got to have some that really encourage a PvP. Not because you want those things, but because the game is aiming to be for everyone, and so you've got to cater for every style of gameplay. And I think the more you have of those types of things, the better it is.
How good your green screen is showing? No, it's fine.
Yes, dear me.
No, it's probably on my end. I'm just so you guys can't see this obviously, and this isn't a creator problem, so I hate to bitch a one as we tend to do every now and again. But they updated OBS and it changed so many things. And the funny thing was, I got up at about 2 a.m. in the morning and I was talking with one of our viewers and stuff, and I just happened to open it, and we would have been so late this morning if I hadn't jumped on there and had a play, put it that way. So there you go, Algared. I think you're better now. There you go.
I can still see it.
I've minimized it. I can go up more if you want. Hang on.
That's okay.
But
I just figure if I can see it on the screen, and I'm sure the others can, and it would certainly impact your...
There you go. You're better now.
That's a lot better.
All right. I got to click off, though, because that red thing's annoying me. All right, here we go. Damn, microphone's in the way. I can't see anything.
Our intentions at the Montreal team is always to add more gameplay to the universe. We wanted to do something that was a little bit different than the Reclaimer crash site. So when the players start up 318, the Daymar crash site is going to have 2 crash chips so that the player can explore.
Oh, it's an 890.
What more?
No, it's a 600i.
Yeah.
I was like, I can eat an 890 jump. No, it's only a 600. I feel let down, but yeah.
But it's not just a Javelin. They're adding more, so that's good.
Okay, well, someone in chat just said Algared is very quiet. Well, we did an audio test before. We always do an audio test now. And he was totally fine. So is it just besides for Janos, is Algared quiet for anyone else? He might be a little quieter than me because I've moved my microphone closer. So if he is, no, the video. Oh, the video's quiet. My bad. Sorry. Actually, it is turned down. There you go. I turned it up. Sorry.
He's trying to silence me because he's got a sore throat.
No, it wasn't you. It was the video. He said Algared's very quiet, but he actually meant the video's quiet. And I did have it turned. I did have it turned down. I had it down to half volume. So yeah, but it blared in my ears, so I'm gonna have to turn it down.
The endeavor that we embarked ourselves when we were working on the Reclaimer was huge because of the size of the ship and how big it is. The team was looking to work on something that was a little bit smaller, easier to break up, and that we could do multiple crash sites with the size of team that we have.
So we wanted to have two crash sites. First one was with the 600i, the second one was the MSR.
After a couple of discussions, we thought that having 2 ships crashed at the same locations would allow us to have a bigger crash site, so there's more places to explore for the player.
So when we bring this idea to merge the both of them, we would just decide to do that on DMR because it was a sand planet, and we wanted to create this location in a different biome than what we did on the Reclaimer.
That is quite big, isn't it?
It is big. I really like that. It's got that sense of. I'm not sure if this really works on Daymar because Daymar is really close. But it'd be a type of thing that'd work on out on the fringe of civilization. The ship's crashed, there's no way back, and you've ripped your ship apart and you've built things and you're surviving and you've actually started to thrive and function.
I get this weird Waterworld vibe from it.
Yeah, it does have that weird Waterworld and Mad Max vibe. Certainly that.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say is, and I've got to say this because I'm always bagging out Turbulent for being turbulent, because turbulence is rough and horrible. But that, if I'm right, those guys with their French accents to me sound like they must be workers for Turbulent. And if Turbulent are doing this, they're doing some really nice work.
You are correct. They actually did spin up, and they did the Daymar. So they actually took the Javelin and made the Javelin derelict as a test, but they never released it. And then so the Daymar was the Reclaimer was the first one they've done, and this is their next one. But
but they're doing some really nice stuff.
I thought they'd be making them kind of modular, but obviously we've only got the one. But it seems like they're really bespoke. Especially that Reclaimer one. I don't know how I feel about that. About them making really bespoke one-off landing. That's essentially like an extension of the landing zones. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is kind of an extension of landing zone, but I suppose it's the points of interest. And you want extra points of interest on a thing. I know that used to be one of Dyson's concerns, that the system would be empty. And I know it was one of his concerns about even Stanton, that Stanton was empty in terms of different layers. And so I think this is adding the layers. My concern about those settlements is that once you go in and clear out the settlement, why does it suddenly get repopulated with people? And it seems to contrast with PES.
Gameplay reasons? I don't know.
Yeah. So it almost becomes like a standard MMO where Joe Bloggs is doing that mission now, and he's got the same reward as I got. Yeah. So, and I'm not sure how you do that in a game where you want it to be. Where you want to encompass.
There's always going to be a little
both aspects, So
you would kind of hope they have at least the like the respawn closets and things like that, and maybe a plane comes in every once in a while, and like a ship comes in and delivers people or something like that. There's ways around it.
And as long as and I hope if there's any named characters there, if you kill the named character, that the next time it's a different named character. And I know Chris was.
It may be a thing down the
pirates.
Little steps, Algared. Little steps. Because to me that's like something that comes years later. Yeah. That's
go on.
Oh, that's it. That's all I was going to say.
But yeah, and I know that's one of the things Chris talked about. If you take out the Dread Pirate Roberts, then the next time there's someone else who's the Dread Pirate Roberts now.
Dread Pirate.
Although the Dread Pirate Roberts is probably the one example where you could get away with using the name Dread Pirate Roberts, because
We'll have to do a pirate stream one day. Just me and you.
Huh?
Get you in I don't know.
Term me evil.
No, like get you in what do you call it? God, what do they call it? Bandana. That's what they call it. Like a, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, all right, here we go.
People are already saying the Hurstons are pirates.
Yep. Old man Hurston pirate.
Yeah, now that's a nasty thing to say about my family, but you know, yeah.
Here we go.
The player will discover the 600i totally wrecked into a cave.
When you get into that cave and you see how the 600i cockpit is hanging with a bunch of wires, it reminds me of a lot of the scene from Jurassic Park when the bus is broken up and it's hanging down the cliff.
Okay,
problem
you
with
know that is really bespoke.
It is
like
bespoke.
you can't just have a cave anywhere, and it's cool. Like I'll give you that. It's really really cool.
Yeah.
But that what I kind of ask is that feature creep. Because like we were like if we're getting like modular pieces where they could drop it around, but that's bespoke. Like you have to have that in a cave. So how many times can you have a 600i in a cave around the universe and it becomes repetitive?
Yeah. And the other thing is like, yes, it does give those vibes of the Jurassic Park bus that, you know, off the cliff and being tangled up by the vines, but when have you ever crashed a ship and you've got cables that are holding it in place suddenly appear and hold you in place?
Yeah, it's like it'd make more sense if it crashed into something that it was holding it there, like whatever.
Yeah, rather than. And I could see, okay, they've you know, you've positioned that particular ship in that location for whatever reason you've positioned it, but it's certainly not there because it crashed that way. They've actually been positioned there particularly, which but does, as you said, make it absolutely and utterly bespoke.
The only way I think they could get out of that is that if it's made out of modular pieces. So basically what they're doing is they're dropping in modular pieces and then crafting it into that particular environment. So that could be the way they've done it. So they did talk about making the reclaimer in pieces. So if they've done the same thing, what that is allow every place is bespoke, right? But it's built out of pieces. So it basically means if one person can build this whole crash site in a day, then I'm behind it, right? And I think that's what they've done.
And I think that fits in with exactly what they've said in the past. You'll remember they've said we've got these tools so we can actually put it down, and then the artists go in and they make the changes to each location. So they could do that exact same location placed elsewhere.
Yep.
But then the artist has gone in and they don't have the 600i in there, or they do something else.
So you know how they talked about breaking it up?
Yeah.
Did you hear that earlier? So that's kind of where I look at it. So if they can break up the ship in different ways and change different damage states. So the other thing would be like, look how that window is broken right now. Can I break it a different way? Can I break it more? Can I break it less? Just by changing a few numbers in DataForge. So that's what I think that they've done. And if they can do that, sweet.
But even if they can't do that, if that's the type of thing where the artist comes in and actually makes those changes manually, that's going to still be significantly less work than if the artist had to come in and do the whole lot.
Yeah.
So it still gives you that. It still gives you that procedural the ability to do the procedural stuff, and then come in and.
Knowing what we know though, with the tools and stuff that they've done, I think this is the bearing of the fruit of the tools.
Oh yeah,
right? The DataForge. You know, even the ability, like how quickly we know how quickly they make those skins in DataForge that they sell in the store. This is the same thing. So if if we like, this is the one thing that's standing out to me. Do you notice how that's like just a default 600i?
Yep.
I want to see an executive edition. You know, like I want them to be able to take a skin that they have and chuck it on it. And so say they had the exact same cave at another place, but it's a different, like that would be enough for me. But I don't reckon they're going to do that. From what I'm looking at now, if I am right and they're doing this through DataForge and they're placing them in pieces like Lego, none of them will be exactly the same. They'll all be completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
600i, we want the player to feel how hard was it.
Oh, next question. Aren't they doing a 600i rework?
They are.
Won't that now be out of? Won't that be out of date now?
No, because it's a wreck. It's an old one. And it looks old.
Like you. Okay, yeah, sure.
So they're using the old assets before they die. Yeah.
How the spaceship was impact.
What I like about the MSR is that it's actually
Unless you, in updating the ship, it also updates the assets.
They could also do that as well. So yeah.
a little further away from the rest of the outpost.
The ship crash a little bit more like the Reclaimer. We're going to see the trail and the ship just kind of in the sand.
So the player needs to go in and explore.
I will say the MSR is a good ship for exploration though, because of the vent system. And
So many little hidey holes and yeah.
The whole feeling of the MSR and the whole outpost is that it's been lived in, it's being used, it's been repurposed.
Some people are there to salvage the ship, to take what parts are still good, to be able to resell it, reuse them. And we create this kind of shooting range just to add some more gameplay opportunity for the player to just fool around and just having fun.
Someone actually said to me, speaking of gun ranges, they need to add that into the hangar.
Yeah.
Because there are enough guns in the game now that you should have somewhere where you can go where you got unlimited ammo, all the guns on the table, and you can just
try them out and see which one you like. Yep.
I would also go one step further. Is I would also like them. You know the little outside the outpost, how you got the little guns that you can shoot. One that you could apply different guns to, so you can test out the fire rates and stuff like that, and then apply those to ships and stuff.
Like they used to have in the old hangar where you had the weapon mount and you could put the weapons on. And...
Exactly. So we know it's there too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But that
we
how much time would that take up of one developer to do? You know. But yeah, I don't know. Even if it was just a special one that comes off the menu, and it's just one room, you know, so you just click gun range and it loads in, and it's just one room, bare bones, all that stuff.
If you remember the very first gun shop we had at Cubby Blast in ArtCorp, it had the room for the fire, you know, the door that said, hey, you know, firing range, but you couldn't get in there.
Actually, you've just brought up a really good point. That might be a really cool thing to add as a modular add to certain gun shops.
Yeah, so you can go and try them out.
So think about the ones that do the ships. The ship gun one has the ship guns out the back that you can go test. The personal weapons one has a personal weapons one out the back. And it's only on the space stations that have those, because that's just a room that hangs off the back. And we all know most of those space stations are huge empty spaces. So you could have a modular corridor that connects it, and anyway,
you could even do that on the planets. You know, on the planet.
But certain planets like Hurston won't let you do that.
No.
And if you also look at
unless you're a Hurston,
what are the other ones? It's Centimass. And but there's no gun shops on the station. So my thought was, if you make it exclusive to stations, it gives you a reason to go to those ones.
Yeah, so the stations that have the gun shops, you go there, you can try out the weapons and you know, try before you buy.
Yes, yeah. Someone's talking about the algorithm or Algared rhythm. They like that.
It's become an Inforunners theme, I think.
Yeah. How come you always get the memes? I'm the butt of all the jokes. That's how it goes.
Because you're the mean one.
Oh right, I'm the mean one. I'm the one that does all the work. Yeah, I'm the one that does all the work. That's all right. Oh, nice.
Now we have created a piece for the 600i in an MSR, and we have a lot of settlement asset. So now we'll be able to create a lot of different kind of crash site on other planet, other biome.
That's what we're saying.
Now, just going back there, you saw the neon light for scrap.
Yeah, I did.
One of the things I'd like to see this also does is gives you a place where you can buy scrap, or even
that is true.
You know, it gives you a shop. So,
well, actually, you got to think about that in terms of the refineries, because you could probably sell refined stuff at the refineries, but where do you sell unprocessed stuff? So there does need to be a store. Well, you know how you kind of go to the refineries and there's the thing off to the side where you can sell it. I think that's where you could sell salvage, but then if it's not processed by you, who does the processing? So there needs to be a processing store as well.
Oh man, the way we're doing this, and just what you're saying there, they've got to do.
Yeah, so we'll see.
It'd be ideal if they have Planet Ones.
Yeah. So
I know we've talked about it, but yeah,
I think it will be a thing.
I can see it coming.
Yeah.
I can see it coming.
Well, when you, excuse me, I just sneezed. When you like see the towns and that roll out.
Yeah.
Oh, I did it again. I must be dust or something around here.
We are in spring now.
That they will have stores on the ground. Think about the stores in the Banner Merchantman, stuff like that. There's a whole store system coming. Like that video you and I did like 2.5, 3 years ago now on them putting player stores on stations eventually.
Yeah.
That's all going to be a thing. Because if we can have the stores on our own Banner Merchantman, it is not a hop, skip, and a jump to see us having our own
hell no.
on stations, because it would use the same system, some kind of modular store system where you can build your own store. And I even reckon they'll go as far as to do your own layout, because like there's a profession right there. I am a retail store setter-upper. That is my job. I go around and I set up stores so they, you know, and you could buy plans from people. You could sell layout plans. That's a whole profession right there. And look at the editor of just being able to lay out your own store. That's hours of gameplay. Like, think about all people,
hell yeah.
all the organization people will do. It will just be nuts.
Look, I know. I used to play Dark Age at Camelot.
Mm.
People would spend hours just decorating their house and putting in their trophies and laying out their furniture and putting up their stuff just to show off, because they'd have their store. People would come to a store and then they'd go. You know, if a house was open, you'd go through a house and check out how they decorated it.
Mm.
And people spend hours doing that. You know, so yeah, I did see a comment in chat from someone. Who was it? Squiggly, I think. And he responded to your, why don't you get any memes? And he said, because you're doing the executing.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yep. All right. I haven't heard that before. That's right up there with Execute Order.
It's
Execute Order 66. That's the other one I get all the time. I digress. Man, this microphone is giving me. It doesn't normally go into this position, so it's being very difficult. All right, here we go.
It was a good exercise to use the new Houdini tech we have. We'll be able in the future to do more content like that, easier and quicker for the player.
For the next Derelict Crash, we're not sure yet which ship we're going to use. Maybe when you're going to see the DMR crash site, maybe in the comment you can help us to find which kind of ship we'd like to see for the next Derelict Crash.
Clearly they're using DMR as their test bed.
Which would you like to see next?
Oh.
Of the ships that we have, you got to. That's your restraint.
I'm tempted to say 890 jump, but we've got the 890 jump in space reclaim mission, which is kind of a wreck anyway. Carrick.
Carrick's a good one. I actually do think we need some more smaller ones too. I'd like to see some Hornets and Gladiuses and stuff like that, and some Auroras and stuff like that. We do have the Caterpillar already. That's a good one as well. Yeah. Starfare they've already done. Retaliator's on the rework at the moment with that, so that could be another good one.
I did see Essay in chat. So Essay, if you're free, pop in.
Yeah, pop in, man. You can join us as long as you're not on the phone or kids running around like crazy Martian. And I know he's got a lot of kids issues at the moment. So yeah, it depends how you're up to. Oh, Loud Guns is in chat. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you again. Yeah, all right.
Derelict, show us another side of our.
Oh my God, he had a haircut. Oh, it looks like a different person.
10 to 1, he'll draw attention.
Do you ever remember the kids' books called Grug?
Vaguely, yep.
That's what he reminds me of. He's just cut off all the hair. Anyway.
Our spacecraft we generally spend our entire time trying to avoid. They tell a story of Star Citizen's in-fiction past, while providing tantalizing clues about the future of salvage, player homesteading, and more. And the first of these 600i and MSR derelicts will be found in the upcoming Alpha 318, alongside Sand Caves, Derelict Outpost, Additional Rivers, the PTV race, Revitalized Korea, Prison Editions, the arrival of Persistent Entity Streaming, and more stuff that we'll be talking about real soon. But as we approach news of this year's CitizenCon 2952, check out the RobertSpaceIndustries.com website for details in the coming days. And that's why I got a haircut We thought we'd take this week and turn a quick sprint report on its side with a look back at some of the stuff we saw in last year's show and how it's been coming along in the time since. Now, one of last year's big showcases were the colonialism outposts, and in the time since then, they've grown and expanded several times in scope. And while we're not gonna spoil all of that here...
That is a lot bigger than it was. So it's almost like they built them and then go...
Let's trash them.
Well, it's almost like they just took those outposts that we saw and they're starting to mash the libraries together, which is really cool. Yeah.
And I think that's what he's talking about.
Yep, it is.
Because what
we can show you is what we call overlay work. Overlays are essentially a collection of props and dressings that can be added to an object.
Which, as you just said, that's what he's saying. It's funny how we bring it up and then we're just beating them to the punch. That happens all the time here, but yeah.
Container of an existing location. In this case, several of the colonial...
They do look a lot more lived in when it's done like this. And one thing I found in my life is going to different people's houses, you in real life I'm talking about here, you realize different people live different ways. Like I've been to people's houses and they're like complete hoarders. And then I've been to other people's houses and they look like a demo
And they're
home.
completely Spartan and pristine and...
Yeah. So I would say I don't want them all to look like this, but I think I want to see everything, you know.
Homestead modules to give them a look and feel of something very different than their original intention. Kind
of like Horizon versus Grimhex. That's a really good example. Like, and they do have that, don't they? You got that real clean, you know, even Maria, the one on Hurston, inside to out, like the hospital is clean as clean, and then you go outside and it's just dirty. So
and I like the idea of even different areas. Like we've got the different, I suppose, degrees of grime. We've got Grimhex, which is absolute scummy as. Then you've got ArcCorp, Hurston, Microtech, and Orison, and they're all pristine. You know, Orison and Microtech are pristine in different levels. And then you've got Hurston and ArcCorp, which are kind of going a bit grimy because there's a bit of oppression and stuff there. And then you've got Grimhex, which is just scum.
That is true. I just Dawn Stellar in chat says it's got a bit of a Levski feel. I agree with that actually. It's like he landed on another planet and he came from Levski. I get that. I agree with that. Yeah.
Well, I think the idea of Levski is it's broken down. Like Levski, I get because it's broken down and we don't have a resource to repair it. So I can understand why they're broken down.
I think the other thing is a lot of people might have said it had a Tatooine vibe. So this doesn't have the same Tatooine vibe. But what I'm saying is I'd love to be able to go to one place and it's really clean and then another place is really dirty just based on the person who lives there.
Yep.
And you could actually, if the person was there, you could talk to them and just from their personality, you could say, this house fits that person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, remember when they talked about AI going, oh, they're lazy or they have different personality traits? The personality traits of the person that lives there, and you kill that person, and then someone that's got a different personality moves in, and the house changes.
It's I like watching Viva the Dirt League do NPC, you know, the NPC characters, and they do one where they've got the characters in Honeywood are all nice and thing, and then they go to Darkwood and not the same characters, but it's just different character and everything's grim and dirty, and you know, so yeah, it's same type of idea. This reminds me of Tatooine of a homestead after stormtroopers have been through it, and then people have come back to resettle it.
I think he's some kind of gun merchant because, like, who has the sentry turret set up in the lounge room? But
well, clearly, if you think someone's coming to get you,
yeah.
They did have prison cells, so come on.
Yeah.
With overlays, this facility that clearly
there's a shop you were talking about.
Started life as a domicile for the traditional homesteader has now demonstrably been overtaken by a rather messy outlaw element.
There's some drug
stuff.
There's Paul's
drug shop.
Yep.
Which isn't to say that all outlaws are messy. We already had that debate last year. But you can see here the...
See what I mean about us talking before them? Like, they literally just said, not all outlaws are messy. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, but clearly they are because you don't put any outlaws... Well, apart from the Hurston.
So maybe everything we just said may come to pass. Hopefully it does. That'd be really cool. If it's based on the actual character's personality and they change over time, that'd be sick.
Well, based on what he just said, it will. but at the moment we don't. Apart from the corporate criminals that you find in Hearthstone and everywhere else.
It kind of means every outpost that they build, Algared, they would have to build like a clean to dirty slider type of thing. That's a lot of work, but if they pull it off, whoo, like, and there's ways you can get around it. Obviously, things like around the walls, the scatter train, but then like big pieces, it's possible. I'm just wondering about how much extra work that is. And I'd like to know in chat, what do you guys think? Is that something that is worth gameplay time to make it so that when someone moves into a location, does it make it feel more immersive to you? But like, what's the, because I don't know, the payoff there feels really kind of small to me. Like, because honestly, you're going to kill someone and then come back 2 weeks later to the same place. I'm not sure, like, so the payoff or recognition, it does go back to that AI discussion we had with Morph years ago. You remember the one about how when we come back, they'll remember us. So that's a part of the location remembering us. So yeah.
Well, there's always the you take over a location. Hey, this would make a great base. Well, then you might come back constantly because you're using it as your base of operations. So I could see it, but I see the really run-down places that are removed from that seem to be removed from society, being ideal places. It's places like Pyro where you're out in the sticks. Even if you're a law-abiding citizen, you've got it. In Pyro where there's no supplies, it's going to look run down. But why does everything have to still be grim and dirty and everything? But going to the slider idea that you raised in terms of this,
well, I just bring out like a slider because you know how they do it with the ships.
But he was talking about they've got the layers. So have they got the tool already? You're saying, is the work worth for doing the work? But have they already got that tech or ability to do that?
It makes me wonder because, like, if they worked on the outpost, like, does that mean you could essentially have a pristine outpost, like with a family that have just moved in or whatever? That area goes to criminal state, and basically, criminals move in, kill the family, take it over, and start pitching all the tents on the outside. That's pretty nuts if that's where they're going. And Monster AV says, yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's not a priority. And that's kind of where I'm at. But again, knowing the way they build things in this game and building the tools, if they can do it with tools and have it all kind of set up where it's almost procedural. So all that so again, if it's, so see all those pieces of scatter train, like, how scatter works, right? So basically in real life, if there's a mess, it tends to cling to the walls because people kick things with their feet and they end up next to the walls. That's just a reality of how things work, right? So if you can actually have it defaultly scattered along the walls or and a little bit random, that can be procedurally generated. But if you're putting in the big ticket items, you could literally have something where it's like an entity that goes, put a big item here, put a medium item here, and put a small item here, and you basically all that again can be a part of this the procedural room generation. Because if you have this room, you could just go put a large one here in this room, and so every time that room comes out, it just randomly finds another large one and chucks it in there. So I'm actually working it through now based on what we've seen with the space stations. Think about all the stuff we saw in that. I think they do have it already. The only part that is missing is the scatter stuff. And as I said, I think that can be 100% procedurally generated to the point that if you were to have graphic settings and you're running it on low, that'd be one of the first things they could turn off.
Maybe not, though, because I was just, as you were talking, I was thinking, this, even though I was saying I'd love to get rid of some of the litter. And you're right, when you're walking, where the path where everyone walks is litter free because it all gets kicked aside. And so a scatter on a path in a room, or the lack of dirt or whatever it was, because it actually works as showing you the path where everyone's going. So it helps you navigate that landmark.
Yeah, well,
if
again,
there's lots of scatter over the area, not many people go there. If it's a
lot of that stuff though, Algared, is so small. I don't even reckon they'll have physics on it. It'll just be stuff that, like, maybe, like, if you put physics on every single item in a room, that's pretty.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not saying it's physics. I'm saying that scatter and that stuff is there specifically as a gameplay to actually act as a guide, like maps and.
So the only other part after that would be textures. So wear and tear on buildings over time. So you can have a new building, and as It's all done. It's like all the systems are in there already. They've got the wear and tear at ships, moving that wear and tear system over to buildings. As I cross-pollinate the tools, I can see it all. It's actually there. It's kind of crazy.
And you've got to remember that, I'm sure you will remember this, Chris Roberts always talking, like, you know, I can remember 2014 and sticking out in 10 for the chairman type talks. There's Chris saying, if a system is going, a place is going really well, a settlement's functioning and thriving, everything clean, pristine, lovely and everything else. And as it starts to go through levels of distress, you'll start to see graffiti appear, broken windows, empty shops, all the way down. And so right at the beginning, that was something that Chris Roberts was saying he wanted to have in a system. And I was always thinking, oh, you're talking about settlements and towns, but it even goes for outposts, doesn't it?
Well, also, I started to apply that to our own stuff. So we build our own outposts, and if you don't maintain it or you just leave it, do you come back 6 months later and squatters have moved in and they've put tents up?
And you've got to clear out the squatters, the illegal squatters who have moved into your settlement. Yeah.
Well, it gives a new idea to the evict illegal occupants mission, doesn't it? All of a sudden, hey, get out of the house! What are you doing?
Evict the illegal occupants because they're in your place. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that could be really, really interesting. You know, you could actually player's like, oh, I'm 3 system over. I've got a report from my neighbor that squatters have moved in, and it sets up a mission for someone to go, you know, to clean out someone else's house.
Got to go clean out my mission because and you guys all complain that the Hurstons are evil for clearing out those illegal squatters. I just, you know,
it's really adding a level of depth though. Like, because if it actually comes, like, if that comes full circle back to our own stuff, then all of a sudden, that's got a lot more weight.
Massive gameplay. You know, talk about having that procedural.
You might have to get a job. You might have to, like, and I don't mean to say this in a derogatory way, but you might have to actually hire a maid or a cleaner to come in. Or, you know, because like you don't want to do it yourself, so either the AI turns up or a player turns up and cleans it for you. You know, a painter. You might have to get a painter to come in and paint your building back to new.
I can just see it now. Hello, we have a heavy cleaning squad.
Just burns it to death. Yeah. All right. Let's keep going.
Power of proper dressing in action all the same, and its ability to transform a location from cozy homestead to outlaw ruggedness. And you can see here.
Someone just asked in chat about the 600i rework. He said last week they were going to go over that in one of the last 4 ISCs. So the 3 that we now have left, unless they do it in the sprint report here at the end, to answer your question, you're probably going to see that yourself in the next couple of weeks.
My guess would be.
Actually, Algared, that makes a lot of sense. It's already done. That way the derelicts are already done.
Yeah, and my guess is that 600i rework, it's the most popular thing at the moment that people really want to see. So which show are you going to make it?
Not for me, it's
the
not,
last
but
of the season.
Maybe.
Right. But, you know, if it's a big popular ship, but, you know, rework that everyone's after.
I would
when you do it straight up?
I would definitely.
At the end, say you got people.
I was just going to say, I definitely think that's why they've it won the vote. Because people are wanting it, you know, that rework. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think it'll be the last show they show us. That's my thought.
Possibly. We'll see.
Here, a recent in-game test of the new Outlaw overlay in action on a potential homestead for perennial testbed, Daymar. Now, Tesla...
Hang on, so they're moving those outposts to Daymar? Did he just say that?
Certainly... I think they've got it on the perennial testbed Daymar, so they used, if I'm understanding right, they certainly said the Rex are going to be in Daymar in the next patch. But I think they've just put them on Daymar and they're just running around in their dev stream, the dev shard. Not necessarily on Daymar for now. And if it is on Daymar, some of them don't make sense.
I think when you were saying earlier, like you were talking about how the place, like Dyson said that the place doesn't feel lived in or whatever. I think the other really big one, obviously, that I'm waiting for is creatures, but I think that's kind of locked behind server meshing. But yeah, sorry, you were saying? I just think some of these don't really make sense on, say, Daymar, which is a moon of a developed planet. I'd expect these types of stuff to be in the sticks.
far away, and others do make sense. So the Rex certainly made sense in the idea of, oh, there are people there still stripping out the bits and pieces that are usable. But having we've crashed, we've kind of trying to survive, we're waiting for relief, doesn't make sense in a system where you've got lots of people passing by all the time. So,
well, I think they're hoping eventually that'll change. We've only got one system at the moment. I think the moons will become a lot more remote when the players kind of drop down. When
the players are spread over multiple systems, that's possibly true. But certainly, that if I was hearing right, they're using Daymar as their testbed on the dev shard, and so they just put everything there. So
yeah, all right.
Like this are done to accomplish a few things. First and foremost, to validate what works and what still needs adjusting when these modular overlays are assembled in the variety of ways that will ultimately make up dozens and dozens of different layouts throughout the verse. It can also serve as identification of feature and UI needs for Rastar, the internal tool that designers are using to populate the entire Pyro system ahead of Alpha 4.0, that the new overlay hasn't broken any of the existing quest work in place, that AI doesn't get stuck on a random box that wasn't there in the base module, and much, much more.
You know what I find interesting about this video is all those questions people have said, like, why don't they show us AI working on a thingo? Does that seem any better or worse to you? It doesn't seem any different to me. Just from the AI, what you saw in the last 3 or 4 shots, it seems about the same, yeah?
The AI were just doing the same thing, but I think the key thing, I think there are elements where he's saying, you know, we want to make sure the AI doesn't get caught up. But I even think it's making sure the character doesn't get caught up on an object. How many games have you played where the pathing is so crap that you go for an area and you get stuck and caught and you can't move?
So what I'm saying is I think that the AI still might be in development because the levels and the nav mesh and all that shit is still in development. So it's a horse before the cart problem. They need the levels to know how the characters are going to move through the levels and stuff. So
so they need to sort that out before they can get the nav mesh working and so it's kind of
exactly.
They want to get the nav, but they've got to get the mesh that the nav's going to work on. So yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And as work progresses, the Outlaw overlay will continue to be developed into smaller subsets, some generalized for use anywhere in the verse.
Sorry?
They're Australians. They got barbecues.
True.
Sorry.
And others specifically tailored to some of the many gangs found throughout the Pyro system.
I better have a kiss the cook apron, Algared, for you.
And before we wrap up, let's skip ahead and show you a few more areas without spoiling some of the quest context here. I'll just say, some of this stuff is dark.
Body harvesting.
Body,
reminds me of that Cyberpunk mission from you know, the medical one, the trailer one, where you had to get the chick out of the bathtub.
I haven't done Cyberpunk, but it reminded me of some of the videos where
you
know,
you
put the body in the bed, acid.
There's a big update coming for Cyberpunk actually, and they announced an expansion for it as well. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, worth playing though. Now they fixed a lot of the issues, but yeah.
And just so you don't think they've only been working on the same stuff from last year, here's a sneak peek at early white box of a repair and service station you may encounter on your travels in
That is very Tatooine. Think about the ring, you know, how you land inside the giant ring things on Tatooine?
Yep. But that is, that's awesome. That is.
The tower, it's even got the towers, but the towers are bigger than the Tatooine, but that is very Tatooine, but we'll see.
Stanton, Pyro, and beyond.
Did have a tunnel underneath? Did you see the tunnel? Was a tunnel?
And even dome there reminds very Tatooine. But
yeah, Jabba's palace. Yeah.
But if that's doing what AI can do on planets, and we can build bases, that's what we can have on our bases. I would imagine down the way. Yes. Who said it? Yes, we need droids. Yes. Little cleaner droids. I don't think we'll get any bigger ones because AI sucks and AI always kills us because we know that from lore. And that's why we don't have AI.
I still stand by my statement that the Cathak are robots.
Yep, and they could well, self-aware robots. Terminators, beware.
Well, they had the Spirit Wars with the Zyad. They don't have spirits. That's why it's the Spirit Wars. Yeah,
because they don't have spirits. Yep.
Bring
and that would also. I just thought that would tie in very nicely with another space meme theme of Battlestar Galactica. You know, so you're tying in another
franchise. Yeah. Algared, I've just noticed it where we're having to pause that there. They look like refineries.
They do look like refineries, and that looks. Oh, I'm salivating. Sorry.
Yeah, Algared gets hungry of over oil. I don't know what it is. It's just been an internal problem. No.
To me, it's saying the planets and the moons are becoming living, breathing places of industry and other stuff. It's not just a harvesting place. If it's looking like you've got all the other things you need. How many times you damage your ship and not been able to leave, and you'd need a repair plate?
Yeah.
And if you got repaired, does that mean you're going to be able to summon your ships?
I started even to think about things like creatures, like on particular planets where certain bases have to have, like, if you've seen that show, what was it called? It was on Apple. It was anyway. There was a person that was like the hunter, and they basically had to keep all the wildlife away from the base. I could see that as a thing, and you know, they come down. Oh, there's a really big such and such, and you got to do a hunting mission to help them out or whatever. Man, the tie-in of this and the crossover, all the pollination is very delicious.
I just thought they've got the
There you go. That's a good one. Sorry, Dawn Stella just said big ranches with space cows. Total thing. You know, having to play a farmer. So we've just now locked in hunting and farming. You can see the cross-pollination of all the professions. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, even think of this. The Oni crab is that little helium or hydrogen-filled little creature that eats all the rubbish. It eats anything.
Yep.
And it survives on anywhere. So it's become a dominant species on Hurston, or not a dominant species, but a very prevalent one because of all the rubbish.
I think chat wants to know, Algared, when are you going to start your zoo?
Have a zoo.
Come down, Crazy Al Zoo, and check out the space meals or whatever. I don't know, but I could see that.
But if you've got the Oni crab and it's encroaching on your derelict site, which you're trying to salvage stuff, or on your refinery, and it's trying to munch up the stuff that's around it, you are going to need to take them out. And they're hydrogen or helium. You know, you shoot them, they go boom, and they're usually herds. So you hit one, as Paul would say, and you get big bat, you know, massive boom, or big bad boom. And so you've got to keep them away, because if one starts to blow and they all blow, there's your settlement gone, even without players attacking it. Just those critters. So
it's interesting the different things you can think up about how they can cross-pollinate different professions and stuff. It's kind of crazy. And
that's just it. And the Oni crab is a simple little critter. It's not an apex predator. It's just some little bug, a pest. So yeah, there's so many options. So yeah,
essentially what you're saying is, like, think of all the characters, the creatures and stuff they can come up with in the future. So
yeah, and that's we've only talked about a couple that they've got now.
Yep.
So yeah, lots to come. Hence why I'm getting excited by this.
Yeah, trust me, and Algared to take an 8-minute and 51-second video and turn it into half an hour. Anyway, here we go.
Is also underway creating various refineries and other.
Look at that! We did it again, Algared.
Yep. Well, we could see the style it cried out. Yeah.
We do it a lot. Sorry, it happens all the time. I've been noticing it anyway.
Producers that will make use of the upcoming resource management system to provide new opportunities for players to build their credit empire, or should they choose, hinder the advancement of someone else's.
And
do you hear what that is? Credit empire. So player-owned refineries. That's essentially what he just said.
Yeah. Well, you know, you get these. You put them on your. You know, you've got a gas vent. You put these on. You're actually now harvesting the gas, or you've got your own refinery. That means it's even. Didn't we talk about that when we were talking about?
We did.
Ships down the line.
We did. The other thing, Algared, I do want to point out though is notice the yellow boxes on the screen right now. They look very much like component boxes.
And yeah, they do. And this refinery does not look like a small refinery. It looks like a bloody huge one.
Yep.
So that goes in with also, I think, what you've said in the past of, small, medium, large, capital size buildings.
Yep.
And
We also talked about building almost all your own shit on planet. We've talked about this before. Like we said with the Odyssey, finding an area and then the Pioneer comes in and builds a permanent base for a refinery or mining of different things. Oh man, you can start to see the scope is quite large. Setting up a shop in one of the buildings you have as well, so you can sell and buy your oil and stuff like that. Man, if anyone wants to get a taste of this, I've got to bring up the game Eco, Algared. It's got all this stuff in spades, but it's at a lower level. Yeah.
This is Eco on steroids.
Yeah, 100%.
I picked it up, I think, with Paul the other day when we were talking on Captain's Table.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this just, to me, really highlights... Remember when we did the interview with Sandy and we were talking about what do you want to do? And she says, I'm a pirate. And the reason she gave for being a pirate was because she didn't want to be tied to one place. She wants to be able to go and explore everywhere. So it's not that she wants to be a pirate to kill everyone. It was, I don't want to be locked down to one place. I want to be able to go see everything.
Well, Algared, you've just kind of said it there too. Piracy is no longer just on ships. You could go in and, you could take over an area, or you could hold it ransom, or go in and just bust it like a heist, like at a bank.
Well, it's like you were saying before, the pirates come in and clean out, you've been away from your homestead for a while and squatters are coming. So you've now got to go and generate or reclaim the
and there's the bounty hunters and the security guys missions and blah blah blah. You can see where it's all going, like it's all cyclic, and you'll even get Carracks coming in trying to do good humanitarian and get rid of the bad guys. The Star Trek stuff. I could see all that as well.
And you've got, if it's in a law system, you'll have the UEE turn up or UEN turn up, and if it's in an unclaimed system, then you've got to get your extras to come in and do it. So again, game loop upon game loop upon game loop.
So Donald Duck in chat just said grief is heaven. Not necessarily. If you put money into your defense, so you either hire security or you put down installations like the missile batteries, or you think of the things on the back of the blister and stuff like that. So as the turrets that we currently have around security outposts, they'll be a thing too.
I think if they put this stuff in now, yes, it would absolute grief is heaven. I always come back to the thing. You need those events. They need those areas which are just purely PvE. You need areas that are purely PvE co-op. You need areas that are purely PvP, and you need areas that are a mesh over, a crossover of each. Because this isn't just a PvP game. It's not a game that's been marketed purely for PvP. It's a game that's been marketed for a diverse community. And so because it's a diverse community, you need to make sure it's got that aspect for everyone. And anyone who says it's a purely PvE game, I'm sorry, you're wrong. And anyone who says it's a purely PvE game, I'm sorry, you're wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
And it may not be everything you want. And I know it's certainly not going to be everything I want, but it's going to be a bloody good game regardless.
I think Space says it really well when he says there has to be things in this game that I don't like for it to appeal to everyone. Because to be honest, like you need that negativity to reinforce your positivity. It's give and take, literally. So if you want to do, say I want to be a pirate. So you look at it for the other side, right? I want to be a pirate, but there has to be someone to be a good guy for me to be a pirate. It's that simple, And if there's no one being the good guy, then there's nowhere for there to be a bad guy. It literally is yin and yang, like.
And yes, as a pirate, you could just go and take out the PvE pirates, but, and you could do a PvE pirate and a PvE co-op pirate and PvE co-op good guy and other stuff. And then there's got to be that element that really does tie in and attract and hold the PvP community. And MMOs I've come across, if they're just purely PvE, they kind of have a lifespan and they kind of stay small. Same with PvP. If it goes really heavily PvP, it becomes this really small community, and then they both seem to just lose their, you see the servers just contract and contract and contract, and eventually they die. And so you can't have absolute one end or the other. You've got to find that nice middle ground, and for an MMO to succeed. And I think the MMOs that have succeeded, you tend to see that. So,
all right, let's keep going. Oh,
yep. Because it's now we've still got a minute to go, and we're how long?
And finally, a quick look at progress of the massive outlaw space stations that you'll be seeing more about later this year as our journey to 4.0 continues. I'm just not sure how much we can get away with showing ahead of CitizenCon. So if there's just a picture of me here, imagine me putting on clown makeup right now. Because it got saved for the big show.
All right. So we know that's for CitizenCon.
So what did we learn this week?
Yeah.
Well, we learned that the team at Turbulent continues to crank out some of the best-looking, worst-looking spacecraft in the persistent universe. That as the Derelict library continues to expand, the opportunities for environmental storytelling increase, and for players to maybe write their own stories of Star Citizens in fiction past. And that we're just a few short weeks away from this year's CitizenCon event, where there'll be some stuff you're expecting, some stuff that maybe you're not, and that if I'm the host, some stuff you're not that you really probably should be. I'll let Spectrum figure out what that means. Now keep an eye out on the RSI website for details when those drop. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week.
Which tells me he is hosting it. And
Sorry?
it tells me he is hosting it, and it also tells me that they're probably going to do it at that new studio that he's been in.
The last few weeks, yep.
Yeah. Or at least record the episodes of it there. That's probably why he's over there recording them.
Yep, I got to say, well, that's why he's got his haircut, apparently.
Actually, I want to ask chat too while I've got people here. What do you guys think of the I played with some new thumbnail ideas. How did you guys find that? I don't know. It's just it's probably a silly thing to ask, but yeah. I tried out some new thumbnails. I didn't know how it was going to go. But yeah, I'd like to get your feedback if you've got it.
So if you ever see our thumbnails change, it's because we certainly are trying something. So biggest change there was our logo's missing, even the way the text is on the thumbnail. So we're always looking to try and.
I'll show you one thumbnail very quickly to show you what me and Badges have been working on. So this is a new one as well, but it's obviously in the older style. So we're actually working on a tutorial series at the moment as well. And I've got a couple of different ones here.
Well, actually, that thumbnail is kind of a mix of both, because you've taken the logo off as well. So
yeah, so we got three that I've done here. The other thing we played with was also a different end screen, but we're probably going to keep this because it works pretty well, bigger for the patrons and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, just a little bit of stuff, a little bit of feedback would be. You don't get a lot of feedback on that stuff. Usually, it's just we look at the algorithm and see how it goes. Hey, you here, ISA? Turned up, Slacko.
Yeah, sorry, I was enjoying watching the episode with everyone else.
He only just got to the invite.
Okay, right.
While he was watching.
I'll let you guys chat for a second. I'm going to go get a glass of water because my throat have been killing me that whole ISC, so I'll be right back.
So what were your thoughts, Essay, on what you saw?
I mean, it's the future, right? It's nothing that we're going to see advance quickly, but it's definitely the depth of the verse that we all want. So yeah, I mean, it's enticing, but my expectations for the near term are far lower than I think.
Well, it's certainly not coming in 3.18. I think the only thing I got from that we're seeing in 3.18 are the two new derelict sites. So the MSR and the 600i. But yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely looking at it from different perspectives. I think that certain types of gameplay will benefit from this level of detail. So the reputation system is going to have a huge shift when this comes out. The ability to clean or not clean, to have people view your outpost a certain way based off the cleanliness or the maintenance.
Yeah, that's right. Because they have talked about in the past, haven't they? If you're unwashed, people like Constantine will not see you at all. I'm putting words into their mouth there, but certain people would avoid you or not talk to you. So Yeah.
Or your ship's unclaimed. So now if you take that to your outpost, maybe a Banu merchantman passes you by because they looked down your outpost and it's dirty.
And thought it was looking crappy, so I said, "Oh, they've got no money. Let's go."
Yeah, 100%. So, maintenance is going to become a thing. The ability to be able to maintain. It's not just building a homestead, which is what I think everyone that has a Pioneer is envisioning. I'm going to have this gigantic sprawling compound. Well, that's just going to be more to maintain.
Yeah.
More expensive, more. Whether it's robots or whether it's NPCs, you're still going to have to maintain that space. So,
yeah.
I mean, I love that depth. It's just a matter of, I think it's very ambitious, and I like that ambition. I'm not sure when we could really expect, to see the full version of it.
Well, that's what I was thinking myself, right? But then when I kind of walk through what they're doing with the tools and stuff, I think 90% of it is already there. That's my whole point. I as I started to work through, as I said, like the only thing that was really missing was scatter stuff. And if you look at the way they apply rocks to the surface of a planet, it has restrictions because of the terrain.
Yep.
It's the same thing. You're just applying it to a room instead of terrain. So it's only a slight bit of code difference, and the tools are already there. It's crazy. I actually worked it backwards in my head. I went, wait, that's there. And then I went, on the stations and how they apply different things. And you've seen the ISCs where they apply in different rooms and stuff. And then I was like, well, if I go, you can apply it all and it all works.
I mean, there are a couple of outliers too, which are, we know that wrecks can be salvaged. We know that's going to be a thing. So with all these derelicts, is it going to be a thing where we as players can go in there and break them down and they just disappear because we're taking out the salvage?
I don't think they're wrecks at that point. I think they are houses.
Yeah, I think some of those are being done as houses, but certainly there was the idea that there are settlers in this location taking out the parts already. So if you want to go and do that, you're actually saying you're going to take out those people. I will say to people who are on Twitch, if you've got a question, please make sure you put question in the question so that it does get picked up by the bot.
Yep.
Otherwise, we won't see. It's harder for us to see because we are jumping between the two screens.
Yeah, we do look at chat, but it is hard to follow. Like if you I'm playing the game, I'm talking to these two, and I've got 3 windows, and Algared's on the same. Algared's doing the same thing, and that's why we made that bot. So that way, if you just put a question in, we don't have to follow it. And it just gets sucked off to that, and we eventually answer it. But if you want an instant one, you can do a super chat or a give bits or whatever it's called on Twitch, and we'll answer it straight away. But yeah, other than that, just make sure it's got a question in it. And
so, Aurelius Indomitus and Hammer VK, Sev and Macton SC, great to see you on Twitch today. And if there's anyone else who is there who hasn't said hi, and I'll say hi back. So awesome to see you guys, and if you've got questions, again, do make sure you put that in a question, especially Hammer VK. I've noticed you've got a few questions. Put them in the ask them again with question, and they will go into our Discord bot, and we'll be able to see them all really clearly and quickly, and then we will guarantee we answer them. But as X said, put it in as a if you want it answered immediately, either do bits on Twitch or do a super chat on YouTube, and we will guarantee we answer that straight away.
Oh, Algared, I can try that thing.
What thing?
The thing that we got earlier. You'll remember in a second. Your old man brain will kick in.
Old man, syndrome. No, that's not a very nice thing. Execute.
Where is it? It's technically the
the suit.
Hey, there it is. Look. Puff. So where's the other part? It's helmet, I guess.
It'll be a helmet.
Yep. Is it? There's 3 pieces though, isn't there? There's also a backpack.
The backpack. So there's a backpack, I think.
Oh, someone's on the phone. SA, check your phone. I think you're coming through. Do you know, I saw Henkin last night. I was watching him. I lurk a lot. And he was actually playing, what's that murder game? The one that's like, someone's a spy and he's trying to kill you. I forget the name, but they were playing it on the MSR in these suits, and so like there was like half the people, like, or a third of the people were black, white, and orange in the different suits. Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yep. And g'day, John. Lovely to see you in our chat.
So with this ISC, what was the standout thing for each of you?
I think I've kind of realized that the player outpost system and the outpost system in general has just got a lot larger scope than I first suspected. I thought it was just going to be these kind of slightly procedurally generated things, but if they actually are a step above that and they got the wear and tear and stuff, that could be really huge, especially if it comes to our own stuff.
I think even the scope of player-owned, the impression I got of player-owned the level of player-owned outposts, so the refineries, how big they can be, and even the repair and servicing place for ships. That they were probably big for me. The derelicts, that was same. So what, you're creating different ships, but it's the same type of thing. There's just different layout. It's always nice, but the outposts, the expansion of those, and the other elements that I'm putting in, that just said the scope is so much bigger.
So I'm noticing that it doesn't have real-time reflections. That's just what that's what I was testing here. If anyone was wondering what I was walking around like a weirdo for, because there's obviously got a map they have for each area. See that? Yep. It's almost like the area, but there's no people in it. But so you can always see that door. So it's very weird. Yeah. Hopefully that they eventually get real-time reflections in, but we'll see.
Like the mirrors.
Yes.
You go into a ship go into the bathrooms with a mirror, and you can see the stuff behind you, but you can't see you. We're all vampires.
Well, because realistically, I'd see that guy.
Yeah.
If I was, but no. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Turn off chat.
Small steps.
Yeah. The other thing is, this being subscriber flare, I'm hesitant to take it out in case I lose it for 3 months.
No, you can always just do a reset.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Then you lose other stuff too, like your rep and stuff like that. And if you know anything about the rep grinding, it's a freaking nightmare.
Yep. It's. I'll be honest. It's also why I very rarely take out my subscriber flare. For exactly the same reason. It's a nightmare if you lose it.
Yeah. If I can put my undersuit back on, does it put my whole... Nope.
Hey, Strigley. Great to have you in.
So it was this one, that one. What? Oh yeah, that worked. Weapons. I have a lot of weapons. Didn't realize that, sir, and I'm not Hurston. What the hell's going on?
Because you're a player, you're not a criminal. Or you haven't been bagged as a criminal. Maybe they flagged you as a friend of Old Man Hal.
I doubt it.
They've let you through, so...
He's usually kill on sight for me. Harsh but fair. Harsh but fair.
I know that's not true because you've had me as a gunner on your ship and haven't killed me.
I'm teasing. Clearly got a reaction on.
Flies. I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'll kill you through death. Kill myself. I'm a suicide bomber.
That's what it is.
Yeah, all right. Do we want to hit the questions, Algared?
Yeah, sure. We can start hitting those questions. Let's scroll up to the top where they were. Got to find them. There we are. All right, so Vital Wins. His first question was.
Before we go into questions, I do want to talk a little bit about variants at some point. So we might take a few questions, then talk about variants, because and there might be a few questions about variants.
Well, interestingly, the very first question is a variant question.
There we go. Then go for it.
So he says, I'd like to have any variant of the Apollo series. It seems like a nice sized ship, similar to what I'd picture a medium-sized Pisces would look like. That's it. Not a question, but a comment. And you did ask for comments, so yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what about you, X? What would you think about that?
I was about to ask you because I'm thinking you've kind of got those 2 rooms.
Yep.
What could you? Sorry, someone's talking in game. What 2 rooms? What ship could you do with 2 rooms like that?
One of the very first ones I thought of when it came out was a studio. So you have your filming studio on one side and your green room on the other side.
Actually, now you've said that, I kind of think of the Endeavour with the research and the science module.
Yep.
So a lab ship.
And that would tie in very well with medicine.
Yep.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah. What do you say, S?
Shops. I mean, that could be your entry level shop ship.
True. 2 little stores. I never thought of that. That's true.
Could even work really nicely as a weapon shop because you've got nice enclosed area. So yeah. Fast food shop.
What the? Oh. Vandal
Fast food shop. A kitchen on one side and eating space on the other. So.
I mean, really, the options are sort of endless. I mean, it would even make a decent transport ship for passengers. You know, you take those 2 areas, you make a Phoenix-esque high-end, travel area where you have a lounge or something, and you know, variants have so many possibilities, and they're fairly simple to execute.
And unlike the Phoenix, it's actually got toilets coming out the wazoo. So, yeah, it'd be, in some sense, it could be a better Phoenix, high-class travel Phoenix.
Actually, that actually could work as a luxury ship. Actually, like so one's like a kitchen, one room's like a kitchen and bar, and then the other one's like a really luxurious bedroom.
Yep. Or even just luxurious seating. So like first class on a business class on an airliner.
Like a transport ship.
Yeah. So yeah, so lots of options there, and that's it. I don't even think surface.
Yeah, like a high-end transport ship. So it's like chairs around the outside, and then like food and hors d'oeuvres, and then maybe a kitchen in the other one. So it's literally just a transport ship, but for high-end clients. Yeah, I can see that.
And the beautiful thing about that, as I think of it, at the back it goes in, and you've got the entry hall, the entrance be the service desk. So if, your guests would come in through the back, but go through the check-in desk, and then go into the luxury area. So yeah,
and separate crew quarters. Yeah.
So yeah, that would work really well, as opposed to the current Phoenix, where you either go through the messy just to go to the loo, or even to board the ship, or you come up through the elevator. So yeah, absolutely.
So I upgraded the torpedoes, Algared.
So that'll be good.
They are very nasty. They do wonders.
I found that out when I did Xeno Threat. The IR torpedoes 100 times. They cost more, a little bit more. Like the others are fairly cheap, but the upgraded ones are, I think, 4,000, maybe 4. But compared to the payout of guaranteeing a hit, why would you do anything else?
So the others have to be done like really close, where these ones, if you're under 5k, it's almost a guaranteed hit. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And I think the other ones, you have to be within 3,000 to really get a good lock.
Yeah.
And not get them avoided. These are fire further away, they're faster, and they do more damage. They seem to do more damage anyway, so yeah. Win-win-win.
See if the restock works, though. It's a very very questionable whether they actually restock. But we'll see. Do you want to go on the next question, Algared?
Vital Win was not sure we would answer his question. Clearly, it's one of your earlier visits to our show, Vital Win. We'll answer all the questions because your second question was basically so. Yep. So the next one was from Sebastian, and Sebastian said, "How many ships and vehicles are scheduled to be released by year's end?"
4, wasn't there?
4 is, I think, what we've got on the roadmap.
4 unannounced on the roadmap. And everything else that's currently been worked on, the other 2 would be the Drake Corsair and the Drake Vulture. Hey, it restocked. Awesome. Is there any others, Essay? Have I missed any there, or Algared?
I mean, I haven't checked in quite a while, but what about any reworks?
So this is actually up for a rework, the Retaliator.
Yep. That was being worked on, wasn't it?
Yeah, so what the main thing is there, if you see that docking port at the top, at the bottom there, or the top, you can see the angles. They're exactly where the elevators are, opposite the docking collar. And so basically they said they're going to put a door in on the bottom one in this image. So basically, because of that angle, they have to rework the body. And I reckon what they're going to do is they're going to push it along. See the flat area behind there? I reckon they're just going to make it flat all the way along and rework the outside. But in doing that, I think they're going to take an opportunity to really update the ship, because this was the first big ship, as they called it at the time, that ever went in. I think it was the first ship that ever had internals of some description that ever went into the game. So it's really dated compared to most ships. But it has some stuff that no other ships have, like those VTOLs are bespoke as hell. I'd love to see, the Bear Claw? If that ever comes out, I want it to have these VTOL. Something just unique, so it can, be old school. But yeah. And obviously, the other thing Algared and I talked about with the rework for this was it's currently got 7 beds and a crew. It requires 6 crew to man all the turrets. And some of the turrets, the guns are only size 2, so they're too small. So me and Algared were suggesting if you lowered the crew requirements to 3, you could have better beds and kitchen facilities, and you could probably rework that funny on the corridor up the top here. You could probably rework a lot of the stuff and make it a lot better, and just upsize the turrets. Maybe have one up top, one down bottom, and the other one was like having one up top and one remote up top, and one down bottom, one remote. Didn't we? We did say that. So yeah, this is a ship that's really like the Starfarer, showing its age.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people even in the old days about the bombers in World War II having those link guns, and so you'd have one gunner and
they did
remote guns that would go with that. So this is a World War II bomber-esque submarine type ship, and so having those link turrets not be on the for World War II in space. So, but if you want to see that somewhere, there'll be a link at some point. Yes, I'll make more work for you, X.
Thanks. There won't be a link unless Algared adds it. So there you go. Yeah, no, there is a really good YouTube series on World War II turrets, though. I was actually surprised how all the way back then they were able to make manual remote turrets. I didn't like you could literally have one fire from the other, or they could be manned because they had a cable system that made one move when the other did, and you could turn it off and on.
Linked up, so they'd actually sync the targeting, so they actually fired at the same point.
Yep, it sounded crazy complicated, but the fact that they had that all the way back then, that's some insane ingenuity.
And we don't have it 900 years in the future yet.
Yeah, that's it. It's meant to be World War II in space, but they've just conveniently they probably made an assumption. Oh, they wouldn't have had that.
Yep. And sure enough, back as down the years have gone, actually, boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And you used, certainly on the old forums, you used to see those type of discussions. I can't say whether you still see them on Spectrum, because I don't visit Spectrum as I used to. Because to me, Spectrum feels cancerous.
It does. It needs the downvote error. Anyway, sorry.
Getting back to the question, do you think we're going to see the Retaliator or the 600i rework by the end of the year?
Well, the Retaliator was on for 6 months, and that was like way back near the start of the year. So I'd like to be hopeful. I think the 600i, I'd be in the same ballpark for that. I'd like to be hopeful for that as well. And it just makes a lot of sense with the fact that they did the derelicts, that it's probably already just around the corner. It sounds like an overlap there if it's not coming out soon. I
was going to say, you even postulated in the stream, watching the video, that might mean the 600i is actually already done.
Yeah.
So,
or at least the plans for it are done. So, you kind of know what to expect. Well,
we know there's a certain level of planning done, because when they talked about them, they said, "Oh yeah, for the Explorer one, we're going to do this. We're going to, it's going to have this, and this." So they'd actually already planned the types of things they wanted to put in, where and what part of that the 600i they were changing on ships. So yeah, I don't think it's beyond the pale. So, Okay, so KWA has a question. They say, how do I approach Star Citizen as a newbie if I'm manically minded?
One of my old usernames was Manical Mind. Because, yeah, bipolar.
So if you are Execute, you approach it by looking at the new series that's going to be coming out on Inforunners soon.
Yeah, but yeah, if you need help, jump on our Discord. There are heaps of people that'll help you out. Either the Fix My Fleet channel, or the CCU helpers, or you can even reach out to myself or Algared directly, or one of the other Inforunners. But yeah, like, I think generally though, Algared, I'd go with the same basic stuff. Like, we generally only recommend a starter package, and then kind of, if you want to go up from there, the Avenger. If you want to go any further, the Cutlass, or one ship that you really like. But I don't think you really need to go into multiple ships anymore. I just think there are so many people with these huge fleets. Okay, let's take Algared. He's got 3 javelins. How the hell is Algared gonna fill 3 javelins?
Idiots with 3 javelins, or
you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it takes 89 people. Algared doesn't have 89 friends, let alone 3 times 89. Like, it's like, I don't have 89 friends. Like, it's just,
yeah. I will admit, some of the ships I've got multiples of, because I figured if one gets destroyed, then I can pull out the second one and do it while I'm waiting for timer to go.
Yep.
The javelin, I don't even know why.
Hang on a second. Don't we have a free fly coming up, like, really soon? Oh, wasn't it September the 8th or something? So it's tomorrow?
Yep. I thought I saw on the website that they were actually saying it was here.
Oh, there you go then. Get in and play the free fly and test out all the ships. You don't have to buy anything.
Yep.
Even better.
And when you get into game, like, if you ask people, I find that people are quite willing to help you, whether it's just do chat. People will often say, "Hey, yeah, look, I'll come over, I'll show you around." I know you've done it at times. I've done it at times. You know, so I know, and we're not unique in the community in doing that. So
what have we done? Sorry, I was
helping new people.
Oh yeah, I do it all the time.
Getting alongside them and help them, and we're not unique.
Well, we had Dan in here on live stream after he'd been only playing for 2 days, you know. So
yeah,
and that just happened. That was a really interesting live stream. One of the most interesting we've ever done. Just happened to link up with the release of the new player system that I'm talking about.
Yep.
And he had a lot of some perspectives that we just didn't have. We don't realize what a lot of the new players are going through, and that's. I'm gonna be honest with what happened with Dan is what triggered me and Badges to go, right, we need to go do that tutorial series we've been talking about, and we've been talking about that for.
We've been talking about that for years.
3+ years, probably. But we just didn't know how to quite tackle it. So we sat down and we've kind of tried to design it in such a way that if we have to redo it, we can just
redo the section.
Mute parts of the audio and just re-record that audio section.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, I know we used to talk about, even when they used to have a tutorial. You know, that was one of the early times when we first. And that's, yeah, eons ago, too long ago. All right, so next question is Axis 009 question. He says, do you believe, concerning Inside Star Citizen, that CitizenCon might be larger than we think this year? And SA, what do you think?
Well, I mean, larger, probably not larger, but I think you're definitely hinting to having a lot more content than I think a lot of us really expected. I mean, that... You know, for all of his faults, Disco is fairly good at trying to feed the community a little more inside information than I think probably the majority of CIG is comfortable with. He really does kind of advocate for sharing more, or at least hinting that more is coming up. His track record is mixed, obviously, because he doesn't get to make the final decisions on what, you know, actually hits the floor. But, you know, from what he's saying, it seems like they have more to show us, at least, and maybe not more content, but, you know, for immediate gameplay, but at least more to show off, which, you know, to me is a good thing.
Yep. Yeah, like to think that we'll see more. I'd like to see more panels. I'd like to see more stuff from Tony Zerovic, and the guys who do some of the big behind the scenes stuff. But I also want to see what's in game. But that's just me, and I hope that when they do their CitizenCon, and it's digital this year, but because they knew really early they were going to do a digital version, and didn't even try and think, okay, maybe we'll be able to do a live one. But the fact that they've known that doing a digital one will change and mean that it's significantly enhanced in what we get. But I hope the stuff that really gets everyone involved and gets everyone, something for everyone. And so yeah. What about UX? And I know you're targeting that.
I do know they said there'll be no keynote this year, so that does show me it's more of a focus towards working on Squadron 42. I also do think it's more of a sign that we're just getting in those little panels. So the only real panel that I enjoyed last year was the Ship Talk one. So, like, not to be rude to them, but that one with the programmers was like watching grass grow. It was so dry. They needed someone that translated it in a way. It just didn't have the same explanation. Like the stuff is interesting, but the way it was talked about was speaking another language that no one could understand.
It was great for programmers, but not great for majority.
Yeah, that's
one of the things I've said it to Sandy, and I've said it to others many times. One of the best interviews I can remember was Sandy. And it was really good because Sandy would do okay, now tell me in English what, basically tell me in language that I understand what you're doing.
So just because you broke up there a little bit, Algared was saying the interview with Sandy and Chris is what he was saying, if you didn't hear what he said. So yeah. And
it was really good just because Sandy would make Chris dumb it down and put it in simple language rather than programmer speak. But yeah, I'd like to see them do more of that type of stuff. You need that, again, a bit like I was saying, gameplay. You need things in those shows that everyone. It's why Bug Smashers was great. I didn't always like Bug Smashers. I didn't always understand Bug Smashers, and sometimes I paid attention. But the people who were into that was really awesome, and it was like their bread and butter. So you want that balance. Moving on. Josh Wallenberg has a question. Space pickup truck? Question mark.
We did say space utility truck.
Yep.
In one of our recent videos, but yeah.
My question to you, Josh, is if you're really after a space pickup truck, why don't you have a Nomad? Because it's basically a space pickup truck. What about you, SA? Thoughts?
No, I mean the Nomad is the space pickup truck, and the the Freelancer is the space box truck. So yeah, I think those are pretty well covered. Now, do we need more, space pickup trucks? Yeah, there's definitely some room for some growth there.
Yeah, and it's like you want as much variety in everything as you can, but then you also don't want that to be at the expense of everything else. So how many fighters do we need any more? Yes. Do we need any more fighters now?
I definitely don't think we need any more light fighters.
No,
that way.
They seem to be through the wazoo.
Yeah.
But yeah. Henrik has a question. He says, "What ships do you think may get bounty hunting variants? Redeemer, Vanguard?"
Redeemer, definitely. That was definitely one of the ones. If you actually go read, what was it, the $65 million stretch goal?
Yep.
It actually.
I think it's that one.
Yeah, the Redeemer is the what is the word that I'm losing? The example of modularity.
Yeah, the example they give.
And one of the modules they talk about is bounty hunting.
And doesn't the Vanguard have variants?
You mean Redeemer?
Well, the Redeemer has down for variants. Doesn't the Vanguard have the different ones, or I'm mixing it?
Yeah, but he said he said Redeemer, so I don't know why he
Redeemer,
brought up Vanguard.
Redeemer, because he says Redeemer, comma, Vanguard, question mark.
Okay, I didn't. Well, you didn't even hear that part. So sorry, my bad. But yeah, the Vanguard has the long range module in the standard. The Sentinel is E-Warfare, and the last one is a bomber module. So unless they... Oh, and they got the Hoplite as well, which is a dropship. Unless they announce more, but that's a lot of variants for one ship. I think the only one that's got more variants than that is probably the Connie at this point. So yeah, I'd say unlikely.
Yep.
And it's also a bit small, isn't it? It doesn't have the cargo capacity. You're at the moment, like, look at the way the Avenger works. You basically just put cargo pods in the back. Can't you just take any ship and put cargo pods in the back and it becomes a bounty hunting ship?
Yeah, I suppose the question is, are they going to get the bounty hunter?
Not cargo pods.
Storage cells.
Storage cells. That's a good
storage.
Thank you. Yeah.
Cells. So yeah, look, yeah, they can do it. They can do that. I know that there's certainly a variant from Squadron 2 of a Titan. That's half prison cells and half cargo, so we know that's there. So yep, and then you've got your your police ships. So I think we will get those, and I think they will add more in. But whether they add them to the Redeemer and Vanguard, I think they will. But yeah, it's one of those things we wait and see, I suppose. Monster Avi has a question. In regard to Orc fleets, do you feel they would go with a loner style Orc buyer, loner style, or original buyer keeps ownership, still able to melt, buy back, or transfer to the Orc ownership of the Orc? My understanding is
I don't think they would ever have Org ownership. I think it would be Org lending. So because that person's in your Org and you grant them permission or refuse permission. Same thing as a friends list. You could have a friends list and go, these people are authorized to use this ship. And you could even do it on a ship-by-ship basis because it works out simpler. If you just make it a ship-by-ship basis, then it doesn't matter whether you're in an Org, they're on your friends list, or a complete stranger that's just paid you money to rent it. Makes it universal.
To go back to your question, I've got the 3 Javelins. What will I ever use them? I don't have 89 friends. My Javelin was originally purchased for the Orc.
Did I fail that?
It looks like you did.
I only killed 2 of them, and then it's gone.
But my but I have no intention, even though my Javelin was purchased with the of it being used by the Orc, I have no intention of gifting that to the Orc. If they expect that, they can go beep.
Yeah, we've seen.
Will I loan it to the Orc? Absolutely. Will I make it available? Absolutely. But am I giving? No. And anyone who does that is an idiot. I'm sorry.
we've actually seen some pretty prolific things in our time, like where we've had to deal with Org leaders telling people that they have to buy certain ships and telling people, they need to do this and they need to do that. And my advice, and I don't want to put Algared's mouth, put in his mouth, but is basically get out of that Org as soon as you can.
Yeah. Anyone who tells you must buy this ship to be in this Org, tell them that. Take a flying,
So the one person I'm thinking of, and you probably know who I'm talking about here, Algared, but I'm not going to mention them by name. He basically recommends all these people buy fighters, so they rely on his Javelins and bigger ships for cover. That's basically putting people in a position where you have them under your foot.
By the short and curlies,
yeah. And you can't do anything about it.
He's a dictator,
That's it.
What are your thoughts, Asa? And I'm going to take this, while you answer that, I'm going to take a back in a minute.
No, I mean, the point you're making about, an Org requiring you to buy ships, I agree 100%, especially when I personally have seen an Org require that you have a fighter in your fleet, which makes no sense since they're so cheap.
Yep.
It's just something that no one should, if an Org really was a place that was a home to you or a place where you were valued, no one in that Org would tell you you're required to buy something to be a member or you couldn't own something else. They might encourage you, which is fair, but they're not going to put your value based off of what is in your hangar.
Yep.
What was the original question?
So, man, I don't have them up in front of me. You'll have to wait till Algared gets back if you want the original question. But basically what Algared was asking is, how do you feel about them exploiting users. That's essentially what it is.
Oh, so yeah, I did have when you were talking about Algared having 3 javelins and the things you could do with them, I could see them put in a system.
That was the original question, like about loaning ships through orgs. Yes,
I could see them putting a timer function, and that would serve 2 purposes. One, you would commit a ship for 3 months or 6 months to, even a couple days, whatever it would be. You could commit that to your org, so your org could plan long-term operations without having to worry about you not being on, or you leaving the org or being on vacation and the ship not being available. Also I could see that for rentals. So potentially you as a player, if you owned a javelin, an org might rent it from you for a month. And after a month, it just comes back to your hangar. So I could see a timer function being added for something like that. But, as far as, how deep CIG will actually get into that, I think they're probably just going to rely on the player community, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the other part to that is, like, obviously it's a little bit more different if you're playing with a group of friends. The only thing I would say is don't be if you don't feel comfortable buying X ship because, this friend's gone and brought this really good one, but he wants you to get this one. It's the same thing. Buy what you want, but if you are playing with mates, obviously, yeah, you can be a bit more flexible, but just don't feel pressured in. It's like in life. Don't let people push you around. Don't let anyone make you do anything you don't want to do. That's just how it is. And I think that's a good life lesson in general. Loud Guns was saying that if an org leader says to buy a ship, that's a red flag, meaning you should leave. Yeah, 100% agree. So, yeah. All right. I think Algared is back. Algared, next question when your ears on. Nope. He can't hear us. This is the time to vent and say everything you want to say about Algared before he gets his ears. Oh, no, he's got his ears back in now. We can't talk about him anymore. Yeah, so what's the... I can't hear on the mic, though, Algared. I don't know why. There we are. Can we get the next question, Algared, when you're ready?
You missed the opportunity. Okay, so the next question is... in regard to all fleet Sudan, so Hellhawk54 has a question. They say they showed resource nodes in today's video.
They did.
Do you see an Atlas tanker or Atlas cargo coming out with cargo refractor?
I think that goes into that utility truck thing we were talking about. I don't see there being an Atlas platform for cargo essentially when you could have something else that does it. Do I think that we could see one down the line? Absolutely. It's just how they... Oh, shit. I think I've killed myself here. Hold on. Hang on. Give me a minute. No! Come on. I'm dead as a dodo here.
No, you might make it. Although I'm seeing you in lag mode.
Yeah, I was going way too fast and talking and not paying attention. Yep, they're on my butt. See, look.
Yep, flares galore. Well, torpedoes galore.
Yep.
SA, while Execute extricates himself from that situation, what do you think? And I know you're probably watching Execute trying to extradite himself from it.
It's everyone's sweet little pleasure, isn't it? Wants to me get roasted, but yeah.
The problem is when you do it, half the time the guys on the panel or the guys in voice are there going, yes, he crashed.
That's it. Yeah, friends like these, who needs enemies?
Right. Unless you've been on a ship with him quite a bit. If you've been on a ship with him, you know the feeling of him blowing you up. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, sure.
Vengeance is sweet. So what do you think, SA?
That's worse.
Well, I mean, we had this conversation I think originally with Kirby and a couple of the guys.
We did,
and then we revisited it not too long ago. But as far as the Atlas platform, yeah, I could see a flatbed cargo version of it with, instead of a turret in front, a tractor beam, so it could lift, either cargo, the cargo refractor size containers, or potentially a Cyclone, or a couple vehicles that are smaller, not necessarily a Tonk, but smaller vehicles. And do I think it's going to be a thing? Yeah. I mean, I would be surprised if we went a year without seeing that. But until the cargo refractor happens, it wouldn't be useful. So, it would just be a kind of a dead weight vehicle. So I think we're really going to be waiting on that.
I think why I think that is a thing too. I think they're more likely to sell other ones first, like the one we talked about, the big box one, and also like boxes in between. I think we're going to get at least 3 land vehicles that carry cargo. Essentially, I think the mule is just the first one. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it will carry a lot of cargo. Maybe only 2 SC units. The Spartan, whatever it's called.
See it carrying, if it's a flat back, I could see it carrying an entire container similar to the raft size. It would be possible if they extended it. The current back of it, no, but they'd have to do an extended bed.
But do you think they would be likely to do that, or do a whole new vehicle so they could sell it? Because you think of a tip bed truck type of thing, because then it has a tractor beam on it. It can do all. Algared, you tell him. We talked about this before. I've got to shoot this.
Yeah, look, I think would you make a brand new truck who could do that and get more sales from that, or you're going to do just a variant? And I think sales will say they'll do a brand new truck. But I could also see certainly Atlas type form, fuel truck and other stuff, because
maybe that's the mid tier then.
Because just thinking military are always looking for that versatility. Can I use, do I want a totally different system, or do I want a system I can modulate, use modularly to create the different things I want? And is my understanding though. But since I've got a military guy here,
when we were having this conversation with Kirby, because Kirby and I have a lot of experience with these type of vehicles, the military does like to use the same platform. So we have wrecker vehicles that is the same core vehicle as a flatback, and the same core vehicle as a fuel truck, the same core vehicle as a water truck, and there are a variety of other modules, even command modules on the back of them they can drop off. So looking at it from a development perspective, I would say, I could see them doing it easily because the assets are pretty much done. So it's a matter of spending very minimal effort, to basically build out a easily sellable ship. Now,
it's combat.
How high is
combat cargo versus standard cargo. So I think there's room for both, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, next question.
Next question. Aurelius Indomitus has a question. He said, Orion. So, between the M2 and Orion is now a big price gap. Can we expect they make the M2 a bit more expensive to close this gap? So the gap between the M2 and
but what the hell does that?
huge.
What the hell does that got to do with the price of grapes? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Are they talking about the Liberator, maybe?
No. He said M2 to Orion. One's a
M2 and
cargo.
Orion,
One's a cargo ship, and one's a mining vessel. They're completely separate. They're not even close. You've also got, if you want to compare a ship, you've got the M2 and the Banu Merchantman. Now there's 2 cargo ships, and there's only $80 difference.
Are they asking maybe because of a CCU chain?
I think it's a CCU
He probably
chain.
needs a bit of context to his question. So if you can kindly please re-ask your question, and Chad will bring it to our attention if you do ask it, and we will answer it. Come back to it.
But my gut feeling is it is a CCU type question. Will we see the M2 increase to make that gap less?
I don't think so. It's released. It's in game. There's no precedent for it to release.
Maybe Orion jumping.
But the M2 is, and it's will we see the M2 made more expensive to close that gap, or make
the Orion will jump, not the other way around, because the Orion's not out and the M2 is out. So
I think we'll see the gap
opposite of what you want,
become more
bigger,
more profound, rather than less profound. But could CIG or marketing decide that the M2 needs to go up in price because of reasons? Yeah. Do I hope they do that? No.
Anything's possible, but it's highly unlikely just based on previous trends.
I don't think they can. I mean, that whole series is way overpriced as it is. I mean, it's just so out of whack for SCU and carrying capacity, especially where the Liberator's at.
Yep.
I don't think they can raise the price of the M2.
No, I don't think they can. Everyone would just bail and go straight onto a Liberator. quite honestly. Like, again, if you've got an M2, if we're talking stuff, you should turn it into a Liberator. Like, the Liberator is, for $30 extra, you're getting so much more ship. And because it's not released, you know the Liberator is also going to go up in price. So, that might be a way to jump to the banner merchant, to the Orion, if you want to do that. Because I don't know, Algared, this is a guess here, right? Obviously speculation, but I would say the Liberator is coming out before the Orion, because of the gameplay that's required.
I would expect that because of the Orion's got a lot more stuff in it. So
yeah, and the Liberator really, other than the repair bay, like they're basically repair pads we have now, you could functionally put that into the game tomorrow and say there's a part of it ready for release. So, yeah.
And the Liberator doesn't really have repair, so because it's just hand repair, as they said, hand repair and hand fueling. So that's even less they've got to put in. So yeah, I would certainly look at that. But and that also limits the M2's price increase, even if they did want to make it more than the Liberator, as you said. People just go, what the?
Yeah, highly unlikely, long story short.
Yeah. Okay, so moving right along. Crystal Stalking H says, did you see that they are making bounty officers in the monthly report? No, I haven't seen that because I hadn't read the monthly report yet. SA, did you see that?
No, I hadn't gotten around to it yet.
X?
No, I didn't hear the question. Sorry, I'm trying to park.
Oh, but you can park so well. You do it all the time at full speed.
Yes, I know, but like I'm having some kind of weird issue here. Oh, it gave me a landing thing all the way here. Well.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so what was the question, Algared?
Oh, the question was, did you notice that in the monthly they talk about making bounty officers?
Are you serious? Bounty officers? Like as in like AI?
Officers as in places to go to get bounty missions.
Yeah, that's
as opposed to bounty officers.
That's just like a shop or a store. That's okay. Yeah. That was always going to come. Yeah, I could see that. It's so basically the local sheriff, isn't it, or the local advocacy?
The local advocacy office is what I'd see that as. Yep. Will we see AI more AI and better AI possibly? All right, moving right along. Janos Morrissey has a question. Just purchased a Tobii eye tracker. Has anyone here used it? If not, would you consider trying it out? I'm loving mine.
On where?
The Tobii eye tracker.
No, it said lobby mine. What the hell's the lobby mine?
Loving.
Oh, loving yours. Right. Okay. Well, Algared liked his. I didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have a review we did on it. We were both given a unit for free by Tobii. Mine's literally sat on the shelf just there since I got it. I really probably should give it away at this point. Yeah, we'll have to think of a way to give that away, Algared. And yeah, I just haven't used it. My main issue was I have 32-inch monitors, and it seems to be built for like 27-inch max. So basically, if I squatted down like this, I could use it, but it only seemed to work on part of the screen. Where Algared has an ultra wide, didn't have that issue at all. So yeah. And
you know, it does take dialing in.
Yes.
And I found if I was trying to use first person, didn't work as well for me. Yeah. And because I'm also a mouse and keyboardy type person, and I'm an old school, so I actually look at my keyboard half the time I'm typing. I was constantly doing this in game. That's what my character's doing. And so, just for my own sanity, I have it dialed down really, really low, or turn it off. But I do like it. I like the feel of it. Certainly, if you're someone who, if anyone has physical impairment, it can be a great tool. I am enjoying Emily when which is a voice activation.
Yeah, we were looking at reviewing that, but it doesn't seem to like my PC very much. But we got it working on Algared's, didn't we?
Yeah.
And from what I've seen Algared using it, I think it's got voice attack beat. It's a little harder to install, but once you got it installed, I use a lot of Google stuff at my house, and unlike voice attack where you've got to set up a lot of custom commands, you literally just kind of say it and it gets the grasp of what you're trying to say, because it's got like tags or keywords. So it's got a lot less setup time. It's just initially a bit difficult because you've got to go through a lot of voice stuff to it so it understands your voice. Yeah.
The problem with it though is it's no good for us if we're doing streams like this, because it's wake up to get out of bed, and and so you'd be constantly interacting, doing your interaction. I had it running in the background just chatting in the org stream, the org chat, and I was kept hearing Emily in the background saying, "Order initiated."
Auto-destruct initiated. Yeah. Oh, shut up!
Yeah, I wasn't playing the game; it was just running in the background. But the key words that I was using were words that were triggering commands. It was quite funny, but and no one else could hear it. It was just me. But it was. So I have enjoyed that, and I found because it was voice one, not I one, getting the bobblehead impact. So yes. And before chat says it, no, we don't need a bobblehead of Old Man Al.
Oh yeah, we do.
Okay, we do.
Yeah, I could. Dung, dung,
all right.
I could just slap it around the head every time it annoys me. Dung, dung, no. And you can execute one. Dung, dung, dung. Yeah, then I just put your head on a spike. And then I could just.
Yeah.
I could. What's
that? That's right. You'd put it on. You'd have your execute one with his spear with the owl head on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I get that. I know what you're doing. I know what you're thinking.
I think I literally just broke my inventory.
That'll learn you. See what happens when you bag at Old Man Al Hurston?
What the hell? This is. Oh wait. No, it's a 30k.
Because you're on the ship.
No,
30k.
It's a 30k. Look, the door's not opening.
Yep, you're screwed.
Pretty sure it's a 30k.
It's not a 30k. It's soon will be.
All right, I'm gonna exit to menu just to be sure.
All right, so moving right along.
Well, actually, before we go to the next question, do you mind if I
go for
ask the community a question? I kind of want to get a real time pseudo poll from those watching.
We'll do a poll. Do a poll then.
Okay.
I don't know how to do a
What's
poll.
the question?
I can do the poll for you.
I'll do the poll. You tell me what you want.
Yeah, sure. Here's the question. So I had pitched to execute a possible new professional point of view episode, which would be professional point of view, close quarters combat. So getting myself, maybe another person with experience to answer community questions, as well as just go over Star Citizen's close quarters combat as it is, and then what real close quarters combat will eventually potentially look like in Star Citizen. If there's any interest in that.
Can I just say one thing? This is about 3 or 4 days before I went into hospital, right? So I did just forget, right? But yeah, keep going.
Oh no, it's all good. I'm more curious just to see.
Just made it make me sound like an evil. No, we're not doing that. That's a bad idea. No, I forgot about it literally. So
well, it's very nuanced. Like
sorry, execute. It may not be saying that you are. That this instance is not saying you're an evil, evil overlord, or want to be the evil overlord, but you are.
Oh yeah, that's what they all call me. I'm the most benevolent. I'm not a dictator at all. I hand things away all the time. What are you talking about?
I think that's another question for the chat.
Yeah, just make me look evil.
Absolutely. You know what friends are for.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I want to ask the community is simply because it is a nuanced thing, and it's not really spaceship related. It's first person shooter related. It's a little bit of a different direction, I guess I would say.
Okay,
my T-shirt. I don't hate freedom. Look, see.
I'm going to tell you the question before I post it, Essay, so you can tell me whether I've got the nuance of it right. Possible new episode, or possible episode. Possible new episode.
Would you like to see a professional point of view on first-person shooter combat? Yes.
New episode on close quarter combat with military vets. Is it needed?
Perfect. Yeah.
All right. Okay, and ask the community.
Yeah, I think the original thing I think X, you and I talked about was trying to rope. I know he's super busy, but trying to rope Osiris because of his background.
Yeah.
And by the way, I did ask him. He just didn't reply. That's how busy he is. He didn't reply. So it might have to be someone that's not Osiris. So yeah.
Yeah.
We only tend to see Osiris around the sales. Like that's when he pops up because he's, you know, he knows that I need help and stuff. But you know, he's got his kid and stuff now and work, and people trail off. Same thing with Seer. He got his, you know, real life intervenes, and how it goes.
Well, yeah, I mean, he started up his own business. That's a huge time sink.
Well, that's what happened to Star Signal. You know, I started Star Signal with Hunter and God, I'm trying to remember their names. It's that bad. And Chris, and you know, they got real life things that cropped up, and you know, Hunter got a new job, and Chris moved state and got a kid, and so it all changed. You know, just the way it happens.
So, people on Twitch, if you answer that question, yes or no, should we have a professional point of view episode looking at close quarter combat with discussions with military vets and their perceptions, observations, etc., and answering questions? Answer yes or no. I can't do it. I don't. If it can do polls in Twitch, I haven't yet worked out how.
It's dropping down though. It was 80%. It's down to 67 now. So
yep. Yeah, it was 88 when it first started. When I first looked.
I think I have to make you a moderator in Twitch to be able to do it in Twitch, but I think I can do it myself. Hold on, let me have a quick look. No. Manage poll. Here we go. Create a new poll. Would you like to?
Okay, and I'll end this poll.
Oh, I can't fit it in. Start poll. Would you like to see an episode? Delete poll? No. Wow, polls run so much shorter on Twitch. They literally have a timer and it's all automatic. That's different. Anyway. We'll see. Anyway, what's the next question, Algared?
The next question is...
hey, I just saw that poll! Hey, end poll! End poll! I have the power! End poll! End poll! Ha ha ha! Suck shit. He tried to sneak it in there, I saw that.
Hey.
You bastard.
So the pilot had a question. Hey, I did say I was going to make a poll on it. So Z Pilot has a question. He says, "Do you think a Constellation Taurus base mining? Do I think a Constellation Taurus base's mining ship is viable? So okay. So I think you're asking, do I think a Constellation Taurus is a basis for a good mining ship or a base for mining? I'm not really sure what you're asking. Think 90 SCU of cargo, 2 size 2 laser, and for a rock.
Just so you know, on Twitch, it got 1 vote for each. So they're undecided on Twitch. Yeah.
So I think the Constellation is a viable mining ship for planetary mining because you can take a rock. I think you can get 2 rocks on there from memory. And you've got lots of cargo space. But would it be a good mining ship? Not unless they made a variant for it.
I'm almost expecting to get larger mining vehicles down the road too, but we'll see what happens. Like the way things are going, yeah.
Well, you know, given the rock is small, I think the rock is smaller than an Ursa, and an Ursa fits on a Connie. So if you had an Ursa-sized mining vehicle, I would expect it to be able to go on it, no problem.
I don't know what to do. I can't repair or restock this, so I feel lost now. I don't know what to do.
You need the outpost with the
Is it just bugged? Because like some places let you do it and some don't. I haven't quite figured out why you can and why you can't at others. So yeah.
I got to admit with the reload stuff. One of the things I would like to see is that, and this is down the track, is that if you've got certain ammo, you know, if you've got those infrared torpedoes, if they're only sold at ArcCorp, you should only be able to restock them at ArcCorp, unless you've bought extra in your cargo.
This is true.
Because I don't see, and even torpedoes should somewhere like say the criminal place, Grimhex. Dear me, I'm bad today. Should Grimhex have the ability to restock torpedoes or ballistic ammo, or
I think that will become a thing given time.
So depending on the location, if it sells certain things, then yeah. If it doesn't sell certain things, should it be able to restock ammo?
I think the other way you could look at it though, Algared, is like say every place does have stuff, right? Because that's generally how society works. But like between Tasman, like between your state and my state, like vegetables cost less here because we grow the vegetables. You know what I mean? So I'd like to see different. So maybe the torpedoes cost more in Grimhex because they've got to be shipped there from New Babbage.
Or using pirated gear. So yep. All right. So the pilot has come back in chat with it to clarify his question. He says, "I was thinking of a variant based on the but for mining between the Prospector and the Mole, but with droppable cargo bags. If it's got droppable cargo bags, isn't it just a Prospector or a Mole?"
So basically, if you look at the different size classes too, we've got to go. Oh shit! 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 Whoo! Almost killed myself. Like I love a good asphyxiation as much as the next man, but I almost killed myself. What the? What? What the fuck?
Did you break your ship?
What the fuck? No, these guns don't even come off this ship. That's the crazy. What? Someone else must have been here.
Someone else has got their guns.
Somebody blew up on the pad, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You can't pick those guns up and sell them.
Yeah, because they're worth a pretty. Well, I think it's a size 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite big enough to be size 5, but it's bigger than a size 3. So I'd say it's size 4. So they're what, at least 80,000? Yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
See, salvage in game.
So as I was saying, different ship sizes. See that bug where it's suctioning the elevator there too. So different ship sizes. Basically, we have a small, medium, large, and capital. We already have a small and a medium. So you wouldn't see the constellation between, because technically the constellations are large. But realistically, we have underground mining as a thing. So just going based on what they said, the last one has to be a landminer. It just has to be. Like unless they're going to make a whole nother series of ships. So they have ships for mining the surface and ships for mining under the surface. That could be a thing too. That really, really could. But I just don't see it with the Polaris or the Prospector already being able to do it. All they need is one other ship and it fills out the whole thing.
I just thinking of the ISC today. You know, we keep talking about it going for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Those outposts and the fact that it looks like repair stations and refineries and that are coming on. It almost becomes a bit like a Sim City, you know, city builder or so yeah, build it and they will come. So yeah, but to go back to that question, yeah, I think I'd agree. I don't see a need for a constellation-based mining ship. To me, it seems like it'd just be a Mole.
And it wouldn't be a variant, it'd be a whole new ship.
Yeah, and it'd have to be a brand new ship because you'd have to do so many changes to the Connie and, you know, so yeah.
Connie's going to get a rework eventually because of its position, and it's just not going to get it until after Squadron 42's out the door, because obviously it's in Squadron 42, because it was the nav mesh for planets. It was the nav mesh testbed for ships. So yeah, it's definitely that's why they don't want to rework it, because there's a whole bunch of work already in place for it, and it would require rework on a big level.
You can see that type of nav meshy type AI navigation being taken into account when you look at the Phoenix.
Yeah.
When you first went into Phoenix, people used to say, "Why have a table so spread apart?" And when you walked around them, you could see perfectly it was made so characters and AI could get through to those seats and not get caught up.
Yeah.
Geometry.
There's definitely cinematics already been done on that ship, and they don't want to redo all the cinematics so they're gonna wait, and then they'll redo it, and they'll call it like the Mark 7 or the Mark 8 or something like that. It'll probably be one of the very first ships that comes under that whole upgrade thing that they talked about multiple times.
Yep. Loud Guns has a question. Hornet light air to ground bomber.
Would it tread too much on the Gladiator? Also being from the same manufacturer?
I think that is the Gladiator.
I'd agree with that. I think that's the Gladdy's niche.
Yeah. So no, is the answer to that.
And the Gladiator's in a really weird spot if you fly it, by the way. It needs turret. Its turret needs to be upgraded massively. It's only got size 2 guns on it, and that's your main defense. Like, I think they need to go size 3s easily. It's really weird what's happened with weapons in this game, in a weird way. Like, I almost think size 1s and 2s need to be relegated to vehicles. And the bigger one, you know, because look where ships are. There's just this huge disparity now where they upgun them to the point that they need to upgun all the others, because some of the like this the Retaliator was in with the size 2s but multiples, and then you've also got the. Well, you've been in the Sentinel. You tell me. I say, how piss weak does that feel to be in that turret when the pilot's got four size 3s and a size 5 or something like that, and you're just there with 2 little pissy size 2s? It's just like, what am I doing on this ship? That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Why am I here? Yeah.
It's a wasted turret right now, and I mean that ship's kind of a bad example because the entire ship needs a rebalance on the turrets and the weapon mounts, especially the nose. But
well, no, it's a good example, because what I was trying to show is that some ships do need a pass, not a rework, just a pass on their weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tally's a prime example. The Tally turrets do nothing.
Yep.
But although in Xeno 3, when you had a crewed Tally, I was surprised how good those, because you had multiple turrets, how good they were. It was like a mini hammerhead.
But by the same token, like, can you imagine how boring that ship's going to be to have 6 people on it? Like, it's going to be insanely boring. I'm
a turret gunner today. Oh, woe is me.
Well, there's no.
Are we going to do any combat? No. Okay. Have we got a chessboard on board? Have we got a chessboard? Any games on board ships so I can play? No.
There's no proper kitchen in it. It's just got like a little annex kitchen. For me, it's got to be dropped down to like 3 players to even be viable. And the funny thing is, it is, in a really weird way, it's not like, I always saw it as a Connie size ship, but if you look at the price, it's actually more in the range of the Freelancer and the Cutlass. And if you actually look at it on scale, it does look very long, but if you break down the room amount and stuff, it is somewhere between a Connie and a Freelancer. It's not
certainly
a lot of geometry.
Certainly, the base cost is significantly less. Like the base is the cost of a turret. And the second you start putting modules in, you're moving up in that level. But it's.
If you're tight for money, that's a really good purchase. Like I think you're going to go a long way with that as the base variant. You can work your way up. You've got modularity in it. It's the cheapest modular ship that I can think of. Correct me if I'm wrong, Algared. I'm probably wrong.
It's certainly the cheapest multi-crew
modular
ship, I think.
No, but I meant modular. I think it is also the cheapest modular ship, no? At $150.
The base is the cheapest ship with modularity you can get.
The beautiful thing now is, because we don't have the modules, if you buy the Retaliator base, in-game at the moment, you've actually got Retaliator bombers. And that's great gameplay at the moment. as you can see from Execute's love of the Retaliator. And I love the Retaliator as well. It is a gorgeous...
I'm in the Reclaimer at the moment, but that's because...
you were.
Well, I just wouldn't restock on me, so I'm flying over to Port Alisar to get its smaller brother replacement.
So there you go. He's going to get an
Eclipse. So yeah. I think your mic. I think your noise gate on your mic is a little high, Algared, because you do keep cutting out a little bit today. I don't know if that's if you're aware of it.
Anything.
But yeah, but I'm just letting you know. I'm trying to do due diligence. You just cut out a little bit.
Okay.
Yep.
So next question.
Yes, please.
And find it again. Henrik says, will we have... I think I know what it is. It's when I look up to the questions, not necessarily speaking at the mic, speaking across the mic rather than into the mic. I think that has an impact.
Yep.
So Henrik says we have viable. Think we will have viable org HQs in cities. Would be called to spawn in your personal hab, go down into the guild hall comment area. Yes, I know that way back when they were talking Million Mile High Club as being one of the few locations, first, initially it was seen as being the test bed for player-owned facilities. And one of the avenues that they were talking about is places to live on planets would be limited. And this is like way back. And so you'd have these a few Million Mile High Club owned facilities players would own, and there'd be a few there'd be facilities that orgs would have as their HQs, and so you'd have, in the cities and stuff. As time's gone on, they started doing the outpost. To me, outpost became the test bed for a future player-owned facility. So the scope has completely changed, but absolutely, we will see player HQs on cities, in space stations, on planets, because basically what's on a city is no different from an outpost on a space station or a planet. It's just you're just putting them in different locations. The same types of facilities that you have are in space stations, on planets, on outposts. Certainly with the ISC.
Just Red Roan in chat just dropped a good idea, and I just wanted... He didn't say question or anything, but he said variant idea, Mantis Data Runner. Now, I don't know about the Data Run idea for the Mantis, but a variant of the Mantis sounds like a great idea, because that ship's got a lot of space. Oh,
and it is a gorgeous looking little ship.
Mm.
I love the look of the Mantis, but what do you do with it?
Drop out the QED and chuck in a server instead, and it's a data runner. But then again, isn't... let me think about that. You got MSR, Herald. It actually does work. There would be... Well, technically, it's a... What's the MSR? MSR is large now, so yeah, there is room for a medium. There's room for a medium.
So what were you thinking, SA?
No, I agree with what you both said. I would say also, I mean, take the center scanner suite from the Terrapin and throw that in there. Have a civilian version of the Terrapin.
Yeah.
Like a smaller scanner ship. Technically, I guess.
And well, put a scanner on it, and it does tie it more into the Inforunner. Well, you look at the Herald and the other Inforunner ships. They do have a scanner on them.
Could make it a
pick up the information.
Could even make it a hybrid Algared, so it's like half data runner, half scanner.
And that would make it different and unique. So yeah. So yes, that sounds awesome. Would love to see that.
Yeah.
I will say to guys in chat, don't forget, if you do have a question you want us to answer straight away, we may occasionally see them and interact. But if you do want us to do it, there is the old chat thing, super chat, that you can use, and we will do that. But we will also get to every question, just might not get to it.
Asperia asks in chat, want me to show you how powerful the Mantis is? Yeah, you can come and show us if you want. That's fine.
We'd love you to show you how powerful the Mantis is. I love it. I love the look of the Mantis. I love the feel of the Mantis. But I often feel, what am I doing with the Mantis if I don't want to?
There's some times I wish Algared was able to play the game while we stream, because he's got a lot more ships than I do. He could basically show off anything that needs to be shown off, where I don't have
anything
the same...
except the steel.
Yeah.
It is the one ship and actually, I was in game the other day. I've got a steel in my account.
Really?
I've got a steal in my account at the moment. Certainly in my ship thing. That must be the ship of the month. But yeah.
Oh, there you
go. I have no idea why I've got it. I've certainly had, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. I think the thing about that makes the Mantis interesting is that it has that little unique thing. But like I've said before, those QED devices are going to turn up on larger ships. Like, you got to imagine if you have, let's say we had a bounty on a ship that's Constellation-esque in size, that's going to have a QED ship. It's going to have a bunch of prison. It's basically taking the Blue and the Avenger and basically going, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, the Mantis to me is in a similar position to the Apollo. They are both awesome-looking little ships, and yet, they've got the space and the feel that they would be great for variant, and yet, we don't have them. So,
well, I mean, this is kind of a segue into it, X. But we had been, well, I mean, you saw my post on your guys' previous video, but
that I probably ignored. I was like, I felt like typing, "You have thought way too much about this," but I just didn't do anything because I was tired. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
No, just that there are a lot of room for variants of current hulls. I mean, like, you know, there's so many assets out there and so many ships have been developed. I mean, I didn't even consider the Mantis. The Mantis is a great candidate for variants. It could even be I mean, think of the things that you could do with it with like a medical variant of it. Like just the equivalent of a red, but, you know, the non-Drake pirate version.
Yeah.
There's just so many things you could do with that hull, and there's so many hulls that are just sitting there with tons of work into them that are just one thing.
That would work.
So you remember when we were talking last night? This is the I was talking to SA last night, and we were talking about all the ship showdown votes and stuff. And one of the things I realized about the Eclipse. Now I have an Eclipse at the moment only because it's about to turn into something else down the line. But 2 years ago when the ship showdown was on, I had an opportunity to craft an Eclipse just so I could get the skin for free. This is still the only skin for the Eclipse 2 years later. I find that very strange for a ship that is fairly niche and popular. Like, a lot of people really like this ship. But yeah, the only one it's ever got is from the ship showdown.
Is it one of the, did it make the final 8?
Final 5.
Final 5?
But yeah, not last year, but the year before is where
it didn't make it this year, did it? Oh, it didn't make it in this year, did it?
No, it got beat by the Avenger, I think it was. But
I think it was the Titan, wasn't it?
Avenger Titan, yes. Yeah.
And that's hard because I could see, you know, I'd like that to win, but I also wanted to. I got to admit, I wanted.
I went back and forth. I'm going to be honest with you, but at the end of the day, the Avenger has a lot more skins. And so I was just like, yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I tend to vote on what needs skins and stuff. It's like the Terrapin. Like a lot of content creators wanted the Terrapin, but obviously more people wanted the 600i, and that's why we all get to vote and all have our say and an opinion.
And so I'm going to cut us off here because we do have a super chat.
Right.
From Ken Claudio. Ken Claudio asks the question: can the Corsair be bought with store credit?
Not right now, but eventually it will be. Next opportunity will be at probably when it releases, actually. So IA, I'd suspect. That's just a speculation on my part. But
So
what would you say?
The speculation is when it's available in game, yes, always. But I expect on the next sale. When the next sale, you'll have a Warbird variant and a credit variant. Yes.
So it'll definitely be available at IA regardless, but I actually think it's also going to be out then. But we'll, you know, if you've seen the images they've been dropping, like I actually thought it was the SRV at one point. Oh, that's actually another shit. The SRV, I totally forgot about that one. That's on the thing too.
And with cargo refactor, that makes even more sense.
Yeah, but the if you look at the sneak peek email, I actually thought it was SRV, but after a few people pointed it out, it's actually the bottom turret of the Corsair. That ship is a lot further along. Like, the only thing that we saw that wasn't textured was the cargo bay, and part of it was. So, you know, we've also seen footage of them going past the rooms and they were all done. We've seen the outside, the inside. Like, it's pretty done.
And when you look at the cargo bay of the Horseair. It's a Drake ship, so
it'll just be
the
garbage
cargo
bag
bay
liners. Yeah.
the cargo bay / hangar is going to be very much like a Cutlass.
Yep.
Cargo bay hangar, so I don't see it being that big an issue. So yes, we do think we don't think, we know based on everything else that it'll be available for store credit when it's next in store. We certainly expect IAE, even if it's for a limited time, and when it comes out, it'll be available for both.
Daniel Griego also says Terrapin small dropship. Actually, wasn't there a variant in lore of the Terrapin as an armored dropship? It was used in a particular mission. I remember it in lore reading it ages ago. So yeah, I really could see the Terrapin. It was like a stealth dropship though. It kind of like snuck in low powered and came out, but because of the armor, it was really good at getting.
I can't recall seeing it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So basically, you'd want it with stealth components, so it sneaks in, but then when the shit hits the fan, it's able to run away because it's got the armor. So that'd give us a huge advantage over some of the other dropships. So I can see a place for that.
It'd make it very similar to the Prowler, because the Prowler's got the armor and the shields of the crew getting out. So a small SEAL Team 6 going in on a Terrapin and then being able to get out under fire with the heavy armor. Yep.
Yeah.
But SA was going to give his
it would be similar to the Prowler. Yeah. Sorry, SA.
But I think SA was going to make a point bringing his wealth of knowledge of all things military to our discussion. So.
No, I do agree. I mean, I think that the Terrapin's underutilized hull as well. My concept, I mean, I hadn't thought of a dropship other than like stacking a whole bunch of people in it. But that would, of course, damage them. But yeah, jump seats on the side would allow it to do that and keep its current functionality. But in addition to that, and I talked about this a long time ago with a couple guys in the Discord, is that I would love to see a single size 7 tonk turret on the top of it instead of the scanner, so that you almost have like a space tank. The ability to have a ship that can have a significant amount of firepower that could either go down to the surface and use it, or use it in orbit. But
I don't know if that sounds too wacky or crazy or actually cool all at the same time, because I can see someone sitting in that seat and actually like doing the turret thing.
But Execute, I'll put it this way: would you prefer that or an Ares?
I'll take the Terrapin.
Because I'll take the Terrapin.
If you also gave it the bit, like where I'd see its strength would be actually VTOL in atmosphere, so you could VTOL and be like almost like a sentry turret, so it just hovers in the air and just
give it grab life.
And you landed on a planet, and it's basically a fortified strong point.
Or you hide on an asteroid and wait for a ship to fly by.
Yeah, like a little bunker.
Yep,
and if you had some kind of medical bed or something also in there, that could be just insane, like a bunker respawn point. That'd be really cool, actually. But
at that point, you've got to ask: is it becoming overpowered at that point?
It is overpowered. So I'm saying how cool it would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it'd be too.
But a Terrapin. I mean, same thing we just talked about with the Manus. I mean, I think if you put a turret on it and a med bed, that'd be too powerful. But I could see a Terrapin medical evacuation ship.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's it. It has plenty of room.
Makes a lot of sense.
One's the med bed, one's the bunker.
Makes a lot of sense with the armor.
Yep.
There really does need to be a few more ships that are like that. That they're less guns and more defensive, and we really don't have a lot like that. I'm trying to think.
Yep.
There really isn't many more like that. That are
I'm a big
the turtle thing.
Yeah, I'm a big Ugly Duckling ship fan. I mean, we talked about this last night or the night before, where I bought the original concept of the Herald because it was asymmetrical, and I loved the clunkiness of it, the look of it.
And hands up if you did the same,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the ships that I love the Carrack because of its kind of weird geometry and its weird design. I love the Terrapin design. I love the Gladiator design. I think the Gladiator, in my opinion, is probably the most beautiful fighter bomber in the game, in those categories. I just think it's a beautiful ship to me. Now, I melted mine because at 165, it's just not worth the money for what it can do. But hopefully one day they'll rework it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you are right. Like, visually speaking, if you've not pulled out a Gladiator, do it. There's something really pretty about that ship, the way the arms move and the landing gear, everything. It is very nice.
Yeah, it is a. And for those who love lore, it was a ship that was used by the Lost Squad.
And for everyone else that doesn't know lore, that just went all over our heads. But that's fine.
But Lost Squad were the squad that got the 88 squad that got wiped out, basically.
Oh, okay.
Events of one of the systems against the Van Duel, and they held the line. And yeah, so they were using the Gladiator and dropping supply, taking. Yeah, so awesome little support squadron that was not meant to be in combat, but were. Next question. Henrik, I think. No, loud guns. No,
Yep.
Look, done that. Henrik, variant idea 425A. I'm not sure what variant you want of your 425A because it's a. Oh, sorry.
A combat
I was thinking
variant.
325A.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking the 325. I think we've already got.
Yeah, 425A.
It's a 325A with 75 added onto it, so there you go.
I don't know. I lean more towards like the 415P personally, but you know, maybe.
Yeah, I think a 415P would be better. Although I think that's what the 400i is supposed to be anyway.
Yeah. Does it actually have a tractor beam? I don't think it does, though. Does it? It's got the bike for exploration, I guess.
Got the bike. I don't know, but it's certainly billed as an explorer.
Yep.
Because it's got the globe and all the other stuff. And
Yep.
Hey guys, I'll be back in a bit. I gotta take care of something real quick.
No worries.
no worries.
Wife aggro. No, it's fine.
Yep. No, more like kid grief.
Yeah, probably.
Nappy time or something like that.
Yeah, he just had a new bub. I think only a couple of months old, so yeah, just so everyone knows. What is the next question, Algared?
The next question is from Polyus.
Mm-hmm.
Will we have space traffic above planets like the 300i trailer 2019
Yep.
to make the vessel reverse feel more alive? Yes.
I think a lot of it won't be fake though either. I think some of it will actually be real. It'll actually be, you know, AI doing different tasks.
Yep. And they certainly want to do that. And there are a couple of times, in fact, the last weekend I was playing, and I kid you not, I think I went to the two different planets, and every time there was 2 or 3 ships coming in, and they were players. And it just looked, it just was awesome. It was just so great, just passing by and seeing, that's a 600i. Oh, that's a Connie. Oh, that's a. But just seeing that those ships come in and go, and seeing the way different people went at different speeds, and yeah, it was great. So yes, I think we will. Moving right on, because I think you answered that as well. Let's Reaper says, how about a Crusader-made medium fighter to compete with the F7A and replace the aging Avenger?
Because they're more of a, because they're not so much until they changed it, they weren't really a military manufacturer. I was way more happy for them to make something, and I've seen a few people in the comments said this as well in our videos, something akin to the Cutlass or the Freelancer, but by Crusader. I think that would sell extremely well.
And in terms of companies making variants to the ships, I think you could do that for anyone could have them. But
See
you've
loud
got to
guns.
remember that. But take care of loud guns. But you've got to remember that just like the Scorpius was originally designed as a to compete in the industry challenge for to see who was building the F7A, it lost out. So whichever company makes any other ship, companies that bring out a ship that was to be an F7A equivalent, is a ship that didn't win the contract. So it's not as good as an F7A.
Yeah.
And so how many of those not F7A ships do you want? So,
and then the other thing I'll chuck in the mix there, Algared, we haven't seen a single heavy fighter from an alien.
No.
You know? So the medium ships are already in some cases higher priced than the heavy fighters of humans. So you know, what was Santoki Eye is a medium. You know, so what's
the glaive is a medium.
What's the so's the Hornet. So what's the what are the heavy alien ships going to look like? You know,
yeah,
like the Battery Defender is a light fighter,
Yep, and yes, he deliberately dressed that because it blows your mind when you realize, oh, it's a light fighter.
So what's the heavy one going to be? You know, like a 2-seater with beds, like it's got 4 guns on it, like a Saber. I think the Saber's a medium. They call it a light, but it's basically a medium.
Yep.
You know, so if they do have a medium and a heavy, like,
God help us.
What are we talking? 2 size 7s? Like, puts the Ares to shame? Like, one on each arm? You know, like, so think the Battery Defender, but like it's size 7s, one on each side. Like, I don't know. Like, I just put that out there.
It answers the question why humanity didn't go to war with the Banu.
Yeah, that's it.
Right, so Blitzreaper has a question. No, that's it. We've answered that. So cybernetic argument set creator. Cybernetic argument creator has a question. How about an MSR gunship variant, trade data running, and what else for 2 or more size 4 hardpoints on the nose, a cargo the same, military components swapped in, very slightly better roll rate. Wow, that's a mouthful. An MSR gunship, trade in the data running, and yeah, I suppose.
Sorry, I missed that because I was saying combat. Sorry.
The question was, how about an MSR gunship variant? In order to get the gunship variant, you're trading data running and what in the ship that you decide you need to balance it, and get 2 more size 4 hard points, nose, cargo, same cargo, and military. So since you can put military components in anyway,
I just kind of ask, is there a need? That's what I always come back to. Like, anything's possible. Like a lot of these variants pop up, but you've got to look at the need, and you've also got to look at it from a marketing perspective and also a design perspective. Design, do we need a ship just to fill a sail? Marketing, can we make a whole new ship and make even more money?
Yep.
And I would say because it's a combat ship, it leans more towards marketing in that case. If it was a
repair ship?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the MSR would be good for in that regard. I kind of went to a Mako variant, but that's probably not the best either. But
Explorer, but whatever variant. You know, if you're looking at the different variants, then as you were saying, if it's not a combat variant, then it's more going to be the design team. If it's more a combat variant, you can see marketing selling it and pushing it because that's the matter at the moment. That's popular and people would go for it.
Yeah, MSR's a really weird one because it's got 2 hybrids. It's smuggling and data running. I think sadly it's not going to get a variant because it does 2 things.
Yep. Now, could they do it? Yes. Is it needed? Possibly.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see lots of different variants on ships because I can't see companies continually making, we'll make this ship for this specific purpose and this for this specific purpose. There tend to be a lot. I imagine at this stage there'd be a lot more overlap between what they do.
I think we're more likely to see variants. Like, actually, didn't they say that one of the ones that are coming in the roadmap, one of the roadmap roundup,
was a variant?
It was a variant that's been working on, of a much loved ship.
So, are they doing that based on what sales are? In which case, it'd be an Aurora.
Oh, do you know what? There was the line of code about the Pisces variant.
Yep, we did.
And
talk
after
about that.
after the vote today, that's a much loved ship. That more than I realized.
It was a much loved ship, but yeah. So it does look like that could be very well it.
Yeah, and it was the so they have the C8X, which is the expedition variant, but they all. So this is where it trips me up, Algared, right? The X is the second letter in expedition, right? And then the new variant is the C8R that they found in the code. So R, what, is that radar? You know, is it wormholes, and they've just pulled the R out of worm? Like where, you know, so it could be anything. That's what I'm putting out there.
And for that episode, for that, you can see a detailed discussion on that in one of our previous episodes, and I can't remember.
Yeah, so basically, long story short, when Algared and I first talked about the Pisces, because of the nature of the Carrack, if you have the little snub ship and you're in a giant, large ship that can't fit through small jump points, the small ship by default has to be able to navigate wormholes, right? And so we theorized it had to have scanners. And back when they did the concept for the Pisces, it actually had a scanning station in the back, and they took it out and had 4 cargo boxes instead. And we think one of the reasons they did that is so they could make a variant to sell for more money. And they also upped the price of the Expedition by releasing a skin with it. Because if they released that, say they released it at $50, right? Just as an example. If they released that at $50, every man and his dog would upgrade from the Mustang and the Aurora LN. Because it's such a better ship. The only thing you lose is the bed. The only ship that's kind of better than that at that price area is the Avenger, because it's got the bed. That's it. You can get away with everything else in the Pisces. And you ask Badgers. Badgers uses the Pisces all the time for bunker missions. It's also one of the, because it's classified as a snub, you can also spawn it at vehicle locations. So it's so if you get stuck somewhere, you can spawn it. And you can't do that with almost any other ship other than a Merlin, but a Merlin doesn't have the warp drive. So the best ship at the moment to get you out of harm's way is the Pisces. And the fact that it carries 3 people, as much cargo as the other 2, like the Aurora has the bed, but the Mustang is pretty much dead in the default variant because the Pisces kills it. And I think that's kind of why they increased the price. And one of the things you'll see now is that I think they've kind of learned how powerful the Avenger is, because the 2 default packs at the moment that has been that way for, don't quote me, but I think 12 months has been the Aurora and the Avenger, because they know how popular that ship is now. I think they've learned.
Yep, I think that's right. But to go back to that question, like, if you're doing a variant of MSR and you're adding, in terms of the things you're adding, you can put military components on the Avenger already, on the MSR already. So if you're doing a variant that's got those, the only thing you're really adding, and for the loss of your scanners, is those extra 2 size 4s. And I think losing the scanners on the MSR would probably be too big.
Can I actually be honest?
I could see them doing after sales additions to ships, which we adding components, because on the 300 series, if you add some of those sales, would almost double the price of a ship.
I was just going to say real quickly, actually a touring variant of the MSR could work.
Yeah?
Because of the exactly, and the kitchen and stuff like that. But turn that server area into some kind of luxury room. You know, expand it out into the. You could actually lose all the vents and increase the height of the ship, so it's kind of got like a glass ceiling to it or something like that.
Does it need to be a luxury version just because it's touring?
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
It could be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. But you make it with glass vents or windows. You're still doing the same thing and turning it into a touring variant. Bring the windows back. That's what we say.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with that ship. The one that killed it for me that I really hated was the skylight, because they had it all in the concept art and it just didn't eventuate. It's like the second exit. It's like they had so many people working on it, but how did so many people miss that? Yeah.
I always liked the windows in the lounge room, because it kind of gave you that opportunity to kind of get that chewy, the Star Wars feel, where they're looking out the window in the cockpit type thing, even though it was in the living area.
Yeah.
But it seems to be it became the design feature of Crusader. They don't have windows. That was close.
I clipped it.
All right, moving right along. Gotta find where I am again because so there we are. Monster Avi says, if they had the tool, cleanliness, items, clutter, etc. already, how much time do you think it would take to apply that to ship interiors? So we're going back to the IC
like as
episode.
in like making ships messy and stuff. I never even thought about that. Yeah, they could do, but theoretically, aren't you the one making the mess?
NPC ships, I suppose.
Wear and tear on the outside. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I would kind of want that to carry over. I like. Does it add gameplay? Does it add like if you just drop all your shit on the floor? Yeah, players is a hard one because you have to physically dirty it yourself. But an NPC ship. But then again, like the the continuity between the two. There's a disconnect there because the AI, you could tell, oh, this is an AI ship because all the shit is, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's a tough one.
Crew, are they going to leave rubbish around and stuff? So yeah.
Yes.
If I ever work out a way to harvest the hydrogen out of the crabs, I'll have an Oni crab on my ship just munching up all the garbage and harvest the hydrogen. So, yeah. Weird dreams of weird people. Yes, Alzu. To go back to Execute's earlier comment. Okay, next comment is Trader Gator says, question. When do you guys think the 600i overhaul will be released? I think we've kind of hinted that it possibly may already be done based on what they say on ISC, or it's well advanced.
Hopefully by the end of the year.
If it's done, I can see it being done with part of CitizenCon. If it's not, it'll be soon. There you go.
Yeah.
Cosmic Pommy says.
Cosmic Pom.
Yeah, Cosmic Pommy.
I find that funny as hell.
A person of.
He's Badger's long lost brother. That's what it is.
Must be.
Yeah, must be. He can't ever own a Perseus either.
So he says, will the Vulture Reclaimer be able to scavenge from the ship crash site?
So
I think that goes back to what we said earlier as well.
We don't actually know yet. They haven't actually really told us. Someone asked me this question personally the other day, and I was trying to go, well, what would be the easiest way to do it? And I went through a couple of different iterations in my head, and what I've actually come to is I think what they'll do is they'll spawn ships that you will go up to, and you're just hull stripping, right? Because technically, to do the munching on a Vulture, you have to blast it apart. But because you're not blasting it apart, you can still do the hull stripping. So I think you'll come up and use your laser beams, whatever they're called, to hull strip, and then you'll just leave the body there behind. Because if they did it any other way, so say they did it in, the only other way they could do is say they had pieces, you would just essentially have pieces of metal that you would make go invisible and not disappear. So it makes the most sense because then when they eventually turn on munching, there's no additional extra step to add there. It just, that base is already there, and you're just basically then blasting it apart and sucking the pieces in to chew up the Vulture. And it would be the same with the Reclaimer.
But I think the question's more nuanced, and I think it's coming from ISC. So those crash sites, will you be able to do that? And I think part of the answer is based on what we said, no, because they're places where people are living, and there's people already doing that.
Yep.
And it's a hab.
They're bespoke,
so
essentially.
Can we break down habs? Maybe down the track, like blowing off a door and it stays blown off.
And how pissed would you be if you took out someone else's house? Yeah.
You know, so, and I think if you do that, you're certainly going to be, certainly if you're in a law area, you'll certainly get crime stats for doing that type of stuff.
Can I ask you a question, Algared? I would say, how do you feel about that breaking your immersion? That you can't actually do that if you wanted to do that? Yeah,
look, I raised a question last week about, you know, going to the Daymar wreck and munching up the Daymar wreck of the the javelin.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be able to do that. But then the easy way, as Paul said, to solve that is it's a war grave. So it's designated as a war grave. You can't do it. It's protected by law.
Yeah, so by law that they own that or something. But then again, wouldn't the UEE also see them as scavengers? So it's I don't know. Yeah, it's
so because it's a war grave, you can't do it, or it's got it's clearly going to have sensors that are detecting, and if you're there doing it, you're going to have the law. I'm
going to be honest. It'd be really cool if you could, but I think like anything, there need to be consequences. So if that faction has rep, you lose a serious amount of rep with them. Because you essentially took a part of their building and they had to get it repaired, so it will eventually repair over time or something. I don't know. That's a really tough one to essentially. It's
you want it there for the immersion, and you don't want it there for the.
Isn't it like killing an outpost? So it's like a reverse pioneer in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like I want it. But I also look at the game mechanics of it, because if they have to respawn and bring stuff back like that, it's like Algared said. It also, I don't think there's any. I think that's the first time I can look at both sides and see how it ruins immersion. So yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it's not, that's one of the struggles that it's one of the struggles that I always try and point out with the PvP aspect. But it's deeper than just that PvE, PvP. It goes all the way down, doesn't it? Like the salvager who just wants to salvage. Can I salvage that? No, because there's people living there. Well, why not? Can I salvage for Recon Daymar? Why not? What are the I should be able to. It should be physically possible to do it. But what are the consequences for doing that? And if it's somewhere they don't want you to destroy because it's a point of interest that's a landmark for everybody, as a starting area, you've got to make the consequences. Yes, you can do it, but you're going to, the odds of you surviving are minuscule because
that's a good way to look at it too. Like all the turrets turn on, or all the guards start shooting you. So it's one of those things that it's just. Do you know what I mean? Like, do they actually go to the effort of going, yeah, you can do it, but you've got to kill everyone to do it? Like, it makes it question. It's one of those things where you can't do it. They just make it so you can't do it because.
Although,
yeah,
A2. Boom.
This is true.
And then what do you pick up?
Yeah, it's a tough one. So yeah, I think it could be a thing they bring in eventually in the first iteration of the Reclaimer, and that even when they bring in munching the first time, because it seems to be more tailored at ships. The other thing you got to look at is technically they're ships that are split up. Will there eventually be broken up ships in space that we can reclaim? Absolutely. On planets, yes. On the people are living in?
Probably not, because they're living in it.
Yeah, so it's a tough one.
And when they're living in it, it becomes more a hab rather than a wreck. So it's kind of there are issues there with that. So yeah, it is a tough one, and I'm not sure how I'd.
Yeah, it's definitely the toughest question we've had this week. I'll put it that way.
Because if you can do it, then yes, great. But then how are you affecting everyone who comes after his gameplay? And you've got to always think of those issues as well.
So look at it this way: if I kill the quest giver, how can Algared hand in his quest?
Yep, and you've got to look at and that would break the game for multiple.
Is it as simple as Algared waits 10 minutes and then his daughter walks out and go, oh, I'm Sarah Smith, I'm John Smith's daughter. Like,
you've got a package for me.
Thanks. Is this my dad's package? Thanks. Like, does it go to that level of detail? Like, there is ways around it, obviously, but like, what are the diminishing returns? Like, how often is that going to be a thing?
And also, if you kill the quest skip, you wiped out the quest recipient, does that mean the quest has to be updated for the next person who picks up that quest?
Yeah.
Deliver this to Sarah King because her dad's been killed. So. Yep. So yeah, there's a lot more issues or problems that you'd have to do down the line, and yes, could be done, but there comes a point where you say yes, we can do it, but is it worth it?
Yeah, diminishing returns. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving right on, Aurelius Indomitus has a question. Starfarer rework next? Question mark.
They did talk about it needing an internal rework. I think that was early this year, around about March sometime. So yeah, it'll be on the cards eventually.
They do want to do it. They know it needs it, but it's one of those issues where it works in game at present in its current form.
Yeah.
It's used in Squadron 42. The broken hulls work perfectly for the Xeno threat and other things. So,
yeah.
Do you really want to change it? Yes, but no.
Ironically, it's like a lot further along than the Retaliator is, because the Retaliator never got derelicts. So yeah, that's a weird one. That's a lot of work, you know. Like the outside obviously doesn't need to change, but you change the inside, and
and there's a whole lot of other stuff you got to do.
Think about all the places that's placed in game. You know, like it changes quite a lot of stuff. There's quests that wouldn't work. That's a...
Well, just look at Xeno threat and unloading the Starfarers. That changes. You know, so do you say, oh, well, it's a new version of this? No. So we don't have to upgrade those? Does that mean that players who've got the Starfarer already either have upgrade or they just automatically upgraded, and so the old models that, you know, that's why they're dead, whatever. But there's a whole lots and lots of questions on that, but we know they want to do it. We know it's on the roadmap, but when? That's a good question. Shifty says, what existing quests are on Colonial Outposts? None.
None.
We don't have them in game yet.
They're at Pyro. Or obviously after today we'll be getting at Daymar eventually, so...
Well, certainly on 318 we're getting the two derelict outposts on Daymar. But we don't have a colonial places on Daymar yet, and I think even though the ones that are placed on Daymar, that's on the dev shard just for testing. So that's where they chuck everything for testing, so they're not picking up a whole region. I could be wrong, but yeah. Stop and Sniffer says, how about a larger variant of the fan concept of the Consolidated Outland Rhino was reposted on Spectrum recently. Has the community made enough noise for COG to consider making it yet?
I think definitely Consolidated Outland does need more ships. It's kind of up there with Kruger at this point, isn't it? You know, they've only got 3, and with things like the Nomad coming out, I really want to see more ships because the ethos is just weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So yeah, I'd like to see more to fill its line out. A Freelancer Cutlass Taconi size somewhere in there would be kind of cool. I don't know about you, Algared. What's your thoughts?
I'd like to see more. Well, I'd like to see more ships from a lot of the smaller manufacturers that don't have much. I can see the interest in Consolidated Outland because they don't really seem to have a pattern of where they go. There's, you know, they've got their little starter ship, ship for everyone, which is kind of a challenge to the Aurora. Then you've got this massive base building ship, and then in the middle you got, you know, so the Nomad.
I do think we'll see a lot more industry ships from them though, because they are the on the fringes, outlier. You know, look at the names: Pioneer, Nomad, stuff like that. So they are people that are out on the fringes. So I wouldn't be surprised if that landminer was from them. You know, I'd expect to see a refinery ship from them, or a gas miner, or something like that. So yeah.
And in terms of the question about heavy fight, I'd like to see, you know, if we're talking now, I'd like to see Kruger do some more fighter stuff, because they did their kind of proof of concept. We can build spaceships and fighters.
Yep.
So it'd be nice to see them actually break. You know,
to be honest, I'd actually think Kruger should go into vehicles. I think I think if they say the small stuff, like so kind of a bit like Greycat, but where Greycat is the utilitarian, they are the combat.
So Kruger is saying, we're going to.
Well, they are a weapons manufacturer, yeah.
Yep.
So law-wise, you got to go. All right. So if they're making ships or vehicles, it's combat-based, right?
Hence why I said fighters first.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe they have a maybe they have a, I was going to say a heavy fighter, but we don't need more heavy fighters probably. But you get what I'm trying to say. They maybe they have a bounty hunting ship. Maybe they are, you know, that's the thing. Like you can literally see that they will change the law to suit whatever they need. Like I never would have thought they did what they did to Crusader. And I know you didn't as well, and I know Paul didn't as well, and it was just like, whoa, that is literally someone seeing dollar signs. That is someone at marketing having enough power to change a very fundamental thing about the entire game. You know, they were a company that basically gave a lot of their profits to charity, right? Because they did a lot of goodwill, and basically this CEO's come along, taken over now, and is now making weapons. You are not. How bad are you going to feel if it's like, oh, little Johnny, we've built you and your mum a new house, but at the expense of 25 people that died from this ship that was sold? That, do you know what I mean? Like it's a real weird juxtaposition.
It didn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
And you even look at the Q&A with Dave Haddock for the Star Citizen Law Pop.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. With what happened,
Paul and Dale and Dave refers to Crusader as being not Crusader. Yeah, Crusader being a company that's all well-meaning but can't govern.
Algared.
So they don't really have the desire to govern. Yep.
I just had a brainwave. Titan suits.
Yep.
They would suit Kruger to a T.
They would suit Kruger to a T. Yeah, you're right. And it's a P-52 is not much more than a flying Titan suit because they just wrapped around a weapon.
Yeah.
You
could even see him hook up with little manufacturers like Greycat making like a military variant of, you know,
or even a mining variant.
You remember SA said he'd love to see a buggy where one person is in a gun in the passenger seat. So I think the Cyclone, but instead of the gun on top, it's just the passenger.
Yep.
So I could see that.
Strapped into a Titan suit, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the idea of Crusader being a weapons manufacturer, we've seen, and even Dave Haddock's view of people like working at Crusader. Crusader are a lovely, well-meaning company, and yet they've got problems with security because they don't really have the resolve to govern, which I suppose is contrasted to, say, the Hurstons, who are corrupt as hell, have iron-gloved fist of we will govern, and we will govern the way we will. God help you if you get in our way. And then you've got somewhere in between those has been the other systems. But
I just think it also affects Horizon's ethos. Though, you know, Origin had that 1950s happy-go-lucky pre-war type of thing, and now they're like making the Ares. It's like, doesn't fit.
The feel was that Horizon and Crusader were more the hippies of the industrial world.
Yeah,
and they're now the weapon manufacturer. That's it. To me, it's a great travesty, and I always thought Kruger would have been a much better option to do that, but that's life. Okay, so Access.
How many questions do we have left, by the way? Because we're now 15 minutes past our usual runtime. I'm just curious.
You don't want to know.
Too many? Because the other, I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you can't hear the sickness in my voice, I've also now I'm getting hit with a fever. I can feel my temperature increasing.
Yep. So we've got a crap ton of questions.
We have done a lot of talking this time. We don't often talk so much, but some really interesting questions.
The questions were good questions.
They were.
So well done on making the question that you've gassed too many, which is a good thing. So I'm going to close off questions now. We're not taking any more. And what we'll say is if we don't get through these questions, we will most likely either do a Q&A in the chat, for YouTube, Or we'll actually start our next session with a Q&A, depending on how many questions we've got. So,
yeah, and
so
I think you've got to put a lot of it down to just I'm really under the weather. I don't know what I caught from my housemate, but it started as a really bad sore throat, and I'm going to be honest, it hasn't been painful to talk. It's just still there.
That's just you're losing your voice.
Yeah.
The last question at the moment is, Execute. Do you think there will be reselling land claims time soon?
I think you can answer that too, Algared. I think it's a no. I think they kind of really...
Yeah. I think they got burned.
I think they got really burned with that because it seemed insane. I'm paying, was it upwards of $100 for a stick? You know, like it's... and the other thing is...
$100 for the right to own an area.
Well, there was nothing in game that said that you couldn't buy it on the day. It's just that you had it in your inventory. That was the only bonus of it, that you had it in your inventory day one. But here's the thing: if I shoot you, if you're there and I'm there, and I've got the stick and you've got a stick, and I shoot you, you're dead, and you lose said stick. So what's the point?
Yeah. I think that the right to have a land claim, I think, would be protected. Like, you'd still be able to get that 8x8 or 6x6 square. But the problem was, you own the land. Oh, big deal. Someone can still come along and mine that land illegally. Come along and do.
Not to mention also that you've actually got to find it. So you're not just going to want to smack it down anywhere. You basically need an odyssey to find the good stuff, and it could take you days to find a really good one. You know, I don't think they're going to be. I think they're going to be pretty Spartan. They're not going to be everywhere. You're not going to be able to go, this one's got 2 mines on it. Oh, this one's got 17. You know, like caves are going to be a thing, and they're not going to be everywhere. You add it up, you know, like some areas are going to be good for refining.
Even the really visually pleasing, you know, aesthetically pleasing sites are not going to be everywhere. And then who's to say someone doesn't come along and plant next door and put a great big refinery blocking your lovely pristine views, you know? So welcome to the 21st century.
So what Algared you're essentially saying is you're probably going to need more than one stick. You're going to need multiple sticks. You're going to need a bundle of sticks. I'll let you look up the dictionary definition of that, but it's just...
But yes, my impression was that there was a significant community backlash against those, and they will be available in game. You'll be able to buy them in game. I'm not sure what security bonuses you get for cash beforehand. Are they worth it? Really? We could buy a ship or other stuff that's usable. Yeah. Yes, I do have a couple somewhere, but it's that sign of idiocy that has them rather than...
It feels like someone in marketing was pushing a boundary.
Yep.
They're like, look how easy it is for us to make this little stick thing, and we can sell it for a lot of money. Like, and it...
Yep. And it sold, but it also got a massive community backlash.
Yep.
So yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to do 7 more questions. So we'll start with John. We'll start with your question next week. That'll be easy.
Yep.
So these are all questions that came in before 8 o'clock, before 9 o'clock. Sad.
All
right. Fast. We'll try and rapid fire these a bit as well.
Please.
Will we get power washing with repair maintenance tier 1?
No.
No. Sandgrapper says, speaking of cleanliness and AI, I always see the AI and I think of that and Al. Speaking of cleanliness and Al, yes, I am perfectly. Will all AI flush?
Man, poop humor. Yeah. Yep. We've really hit a low here, right? Yep. Next question.
Or are there some other non-concrete things about hygiene not
I think it'll come down to the personality system. We all know they have personalities. Yes, there'll be some that probably don't. I think there'll be some
that fold and scrunch. There'll be others that...
Will we see it? No. Will the janitor go off at particular person because he knows it was little Johnny that left it there? Yes.
Yes. Do we want to see it? No.
So it'll just be code.
Yep. A stolen hot pocket says, will the giant worm show Huldut destroy the capital ships if implemented in the PU. Not that you'd know, just cool to think about.
You would have to land, and as Algared will tell you, most capital ships don't go in Atmo. I think the exception of that would be the Kraken and the Javelin, yeah, and the Polaris.
Yep.
And the cab of the Endeavour. But yes, potentially, yes, it could be a ship killer. I think that. Do they make it like the Worm of June, where it's it's attracted to noise, etc., or is it literally just it has to be in the area, or is the armor of those ships and shields so strong that it can't?
Next question.
It's what they want it to be. Because the other thing is, think of all the custom animations you'd have to do for that worm.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's a lot for a creature that's only on one planet.
So Shocker17 says, hopefully ISC will talk about character repair and flare items, or a way to sing into the kiosk and repurchase items with UEC.
Yeah.
So yes, hopefully they will do that, and I expect they will be able to do that, to repurchase both items with UEC in game. You don't have it. You want to add anything to that, do you?
Nope.
All right. Apple Crow says, not so much a variant, but I'd like to see a Cuddy Blue to have a kiosk for Crime Stat 1 or 2 payoffs, and perhaps give a cut to the bounty hunters.
So like a bounty hunt, so you could actually pay off crime stats a bounty. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, a bounty hunter who say, okay, come and pay off your come and pay off your crime stat. Yep, okay, fine. Yeah, I could see that, and give them a cut. Yep, sounds good.
So basically, it's basically like a police officer taking on the spot fine.
Yeah, sounds good.
I can see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
For low grade crimes, yeah. Solves the problem that we were talking about, that people get stuck and not be able to
absolutely
get inside and do that. So yep. Upper Crow has another variant question. He says, I'd still like variants of a larger origin ships like we have for the 100, 300. Some of them would be good, but you seem to get less variants as you go up the chain, and deliberate.
Sorry, someone just sent me a meme of you and me. I'll show you later.
And that reaches the end of our questions. I know we've got several questions from our other chat, but that gives us a nice timestamp to start, and I know that John is our next starting point. So we'll end our questions there, because we are over the time limit. We'd have got Execute fading. I'm suffering from hay fever impacts as well, so
yeah.
Which well,
John wants not John. Paul wants me to do a show for the Law podcast tomorrow, and we've still got to do our weekly show as well. So I'm going to have to struggle through, but I'm hoping by this time tomorrow it has dissipated, but I'm hoping it dissipates more by this time tomorrow. So I'm going to go rest up. I've talked for 3 hours. I haven't been talking at all up until I got up with you this morning. So, yeah. All right.
So, Jail, and the question is from Jail: do we still want to do something? So,
sorry, you broke up. You broke up there.
Jail was just has asked a question in our so Paul asked a question of Jail: does he want to do stuff with the Death of the Queen, etc.?
Oh, there you go.
So
I'm happy to push it. I'm
happy as a pommy. So
yeah, I'm happy to push it back a week if you go, because it is a circumstances. Like, it's not like she dies every day of the week, is it?
No.
So yeah, and it's All right, then. Yeah, she's just so you know, she's 96 years old. She was, so she had a good run, better than most of us are ever going to get. So yeah. All right. So, with that, then I'm going to
subscribe.
I've actually
hit the bell.
I've got to do.
We haven't done that at all yet. So subscribe, hit the bell, leave your comments. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Don't forget, be respectful. We do read every comment. We answer. Feel free to hit us up on Patreon if you really like what we do, or even consider becoming a YouTube member, because it does help us do other things and improve our stuff. And I'm doing this to save Execute his voice. And on that point, I believe I'm Algared,
so Paul,
he's been Execute.
Yeah. Paul hasn't started streaming.
Oh,
so
I
can't raid Paul. So yeah, it says it's upcoming. So yeah.
So we can't raid him at the moment, but yeah.
So otherwise we would, but with that, we'll love you and leave you. And you guys have a good weekend, and we'll get a show out for you very soon. We'll see you next week on the live stream. He's been Algared. I'm an Execute. Catch you next time.
Again.